Worldwide.
Thanks, Gary. We'll say hi to the Crumley.
Doesn't make me look any better.
See the price. Great knows. He knows. He and Phyllis communicate.
Same thing I tell my dad, inspector, because the county inspector walked the next year, too late. It's the same worker person. Didn't check any outlets or any ground faults or nothing, so we're having.
Probably a good idea. Call a meeting to order. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silent reflection upon the life of Stan Ryland, followed by a prayer of officiating. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear Heavenly Father, we ask that you be with Stan Ryland's family today, for we know you have accepted him into your kingdom, into your glory. We ask that the things we say and we think that we do today reflect your will and not ours. We ask that your blessing upon this meeting and upon us each day. In Christ's name, amen. If you have a sign in out front, please do so. Here you have sealed quotes.
Yes, sir. First, we have the estimate for the Joseph Jones, which
He's got sealed quotes, doesn't he? Okay.
all right, so the estimate for the Joseph Jones, the riprap project is $6,500. The next is for Country Meadows Estates. First quote is for Beechwood Construction in the amount of $39,105. Second quote is from Moraine Excavating. In the amount of $41,450.
All the quotes here.
Yes, sir.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from the August 27th meeting.
Move to approve as submitted.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, motion carries. Next is drain maintenance expenses, total of $23,592.50.
Move to approve drain maintenance expenses of $23,592.50.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed and unopposed, motion carries. Acceptance of the auditor's report for September 10th.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And unopposed, motion carries. Old business major plat. NDOT, the NDOT project lists and truck parking. Ask for continuance. Chair will entertain a motion for continuance.
Move to continue.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 And opposed, motion carries. Next is Dale Cruz, S524 DPR Buggy Works.
Morning.
Morning.
Bill Cruz, Cruz Consulting, 7384 Business Center Drive in Avon. And I'm here this morning on behalf of Colby Hughes, the owner of a company called Buggy Works. They specialize in remanufacturing old VW cars. There's a market for that. And he recreates them and restores them. He has clients all over the country that bring things to him or ship things to him. And that's what he does. He's done it for years. And they are currently in a facility on 136 down close to Raceway Park. And they're under contract to purchase this piece of vacant ground right here. This is Raceway Road, and this is 136, and White Oak Construction is here. There's a Subway on the corner, and there's an old car wash right here. So it's property directly east of the old car wash. It's a vacant piece of ground. So they want to build their facility here. We've been working through our approval with NDOT to getting permission for our driveway expansion. Our detention pond will be a long, narrow detention pond along this property line, little outlet. There's a ditch. This pond right here outlets in a ditch that's on this common property line, and that ditch runs north to 136, and our detention pond will outlet into that ditch just south of the NDOT right of way. Let me show the sign. It's on there. It's on that. That? Yeah.
I'm glad you explained what Buggy Works was. I keep seeing that.
That's what they do. They've been renting long enough and they're ready to own their own facility. Yeah, so this is probably good enough. This is the best one probably because it's got the aerial line. So the detention pond will be here along the western property line, long narrow pond outletting into this ditch. Entrance off of 136. This is the facility. They'll have a small retail area in the front of the store or in the front of the building, although the idea of people coming to the place and buying something and leaving with it has lost its flavor to online shopping. So most of their retail stuff happens online, but they will have a small retail presence here, but majority of their sales is online. And then there'll be a few parking spaces out here in the front, and then the overhead doors for the service bays will be on the west side of the building facing west, and there'll be their area here where they load up their vehicles to ship them in and out. That's it.
You know, Dave, I was mistaken. This is not the one
Okay.
that we've had the controversy with.
You were thinking west.
Yes. Okay, you've seen you heard Dale's presentation, the recommendation of the Surveyor's Office is preliminary and final approval. Chair, I entertain a motion.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Second. Is there further discussion? Those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
There are none opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Major plat, Brownsburg Public Library, Veritas Group. That's 624.
Good morning, Nick Valentine with Bears Group, 6280 North Jalen Avenue, Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm here on behalf of the Brownsburg Public Library project at 450 South Jefferson Street, Brownsburg, Indiana. This project ultimately drains to the Chris Structures legal drain. This project includes a reconfiguring of the existing parking lot and other site improvements. This project will decrease the overall impervious area draining to the legal drain, and therefore will have no negative impacts upon completion.
Good for you. Does that complete your presentation?
Yes, it does.
You see the Surveyor's Office recommends preliminary and final approval. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion? Those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Preliminary and final, minor plats, MIP 607, replat Kurtz, benchmark. Benchmark have a presence here?
Can we put this off to the end?
Yes.
Nathan's running late.
All right, that's fine. Okay, Dale, you're up, MIP 1186.
Nathan called me on the way here, said he was running late, so I mentioned to Dave and he agreed to move it to the end of the
And
agenda.
he got stopped by the same train I did.
Yeah, I didn't ask him, I was rounding the door, but he said to just make sure that we got pushed to the end, so
Okay.
I was glad to move ahead of him. So again, Dale Cruz, Cruz Consulting, 7384 Business Center Drive in Avon. This is John Hall's.
Yeah.
And so I'm here this morning on behalf of John Hall and his son. He owns this corner right here, owns this field here, but the area of interest is this corner right here, this wooded area right here that they can't farm, so they just soon sell it. So we're here this morning to ask for approval of a 3-lot minor plat. This right here, there'll be 2 lots that face north in this corner. Can you zoom in there a little bit?
This is Belleville. This is raised trash. So
Okay.
the airport golf balls down here by I-70. Okay. Just wanted to give them a kind of a general idea.
So is this where engineering is
Yes.
taking the curve out?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, it is. Go ahead.
Yeah, so there'll be 3 lots. There'll be a lot here and a lot here that face north, and then there'll be a 3rd lot here that faces to the east. And there'll be, this 3rd lot, the southern lot will get a little bit out into the tillable field, but basically we'll just square off these goofy end rows and it'll just be a square line there, straight line there. And to your point, this is the area where John Ayers and County Highway Department are taking the curve out of this, they're lessening the curve in this corner right here. And John agreed to donate the right-of-way in return for the county taking care of whatever tree clearing needs to happen as part of this plat. So they made that agreement, and as far as I know, both sides are agreeable to that.
It improves the safety
That's
tremendously
a
then.
dangerous curve.
Okay, you heard Dale's presentation, the recommendation of the Surveyor's Office is preliminary and final approval. Chair will entertain a motion.
Move to approve MIP 1186.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? Those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, motion carries. Minor residential, somebody want to let me know when Nathan gets here. Minor residential plat, MRP 156 Dale.
Yep, again, Dale Cruz, Cruz Consulting, 7384 Business Center Drive in Avon. And then this project, I'm here on behalf of the Dodge family. This project is just a little bit south of Jamestown. It is basically across from where the Tomahawk Hills golf course used to be. It's on the other side of the road, and yeah, there we go. So this used to be Tomahawk Hills Golf Course, and the plat we're here to talk about now is this property right here. Somehow it was discovered, I didn't discover it, I don't know who did, but somehow it was discovered that when this parcel was created, it was done as an illegal lot split. So we're here this morning to ask for approval of a 1-lot MRP to correct the illegal lot split. And while we're doing this, cleaning up this illegal lot split, we're actually cleaning up there's actually 3 parcels. There's a house parcel, there's this landlocked piece in the rear right here that they own, and then there's a little piece of this northern end of the pond that they own also that's a landlocked piece. So this 1-lot MRP proposes to combine those 3 parcels into one. This lot here that has, or this parcel here that has the pond and the house on it, the one behind it, and this little parcel to the north of it. The idea is to combine them into one, make a 1-lot MRP out of it to make it a legal buildable lot split.
This is not where the old campground used to be.
It's north of the campground.
Okay, good.
Yep, that was a question we asked at TAC.
Yes.
Is
You've
the
heard
campground still there?
So, we can park RVs there, man, I don't even
Like
remember.
Dick Thompson and Rusty King and I appeared before the Anthony Heschel's, the Board of Zoning Appeals a few years ago to stop that
Yeah.
because it was gonna turn, they were gonna try to turn it into a
Yeah, okay.
campground that we convinced them it would have turned into a place of domicile, not just a campground. and so they denied it.
Okay.
And the guy had already done a bunch of work there.
Mhm.
It was disapproved. So you've heard Bill's presentation. Chair, entertain a motion.
I would so move for preliminary and final approval. Camera B156, I believe.
Second.
Moving to second, is there further discussion? Those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Nathan?
See you, Dale.
This is MIP 607 benchmark.
Good morning, Nathan White, Benchmark Consulting, 69 Augusta Drive. Kurt's family and their replat of 3 parcels on 350. Right, Mel, just left your cursor.
This is just south of Maplewood, basically, a little bit east, south of Maplewood.
Kurt's living in that right there, but own 3 pieces here, and they're just wanting to expand their house, and it gets too close to the property line. They're actually building a garage, some living space on that side. So to get rid of the property lines, to allow for the house, we're just gonna replat this piece with these other 2 and create one bigger lot. We've got a nice ditch out front, so we got pretty good drainage. And then the legal drains there is pipe as well. So, just trying to clean up property lines so they can add on to their house.
You heard the Nathan's presentation. You have recommendation of preliminary and final approval by the surveyor's office. Chair, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve MIP 607.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? Those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Graham, do you have anything? Dave, you're up.
Tiffany, you're up.
Okay, can we take care of the quotes first?
Is that the quote that's gonna,
Meadow.
is that the concern of cons? Okay, it's a different one.
We'll
Okay.
do that last.
The one by Beacon, the airport Beacon.
Oh,
Country Meadows
that
Estate.
one?
Yes.
Okay.
So I recommend going with Beechwood Construction with $39,105.
For the recommendation of the deputy surveyor. What's the will of the board?
Move to approve.
No second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? Those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries.
Okay, for confirmation of assessments, I tried my best to get through all of them last night, and I have about 118 left to get through, out of a couple thousand. So they will be done today or tomorrow. Gary, I don't know if they need to vote on that.
You wait until the next meeting, but we have to do it in the next meeting.
We'll just do it at the next meeting.
Okay, then we will do that. The last thing that I have, I believe it's, no, it's not. Okay, I have one thing that's not on the agenda, so. Dirk and I were working with Banning Engineering on the Oscar Higgins regulated drain. We spent a great deal of time out there with Pipeline Company. They've got 2 crossings that go just a couple feet under the flow line of our ditch. We need to dredge the ditch. There's trees that need to be cleared. We got a full plan and profile from Banning Engineering. Joe worked pretty hard on getting that to us as quick as possible. Doing this work is going to tremendously help that area. This drain has needed some work for a long while.
Where's it located?
Yes.
I think
It's in Marion Township?
Yeah, it is Marion. It's, I believe it's just east of State Road 75 and 100 North.
It's 236.
Yeah.
It's 200 goes off the way.
I don't like that.
That's
one.
not.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
It's right by tile.
There's hard. There.
John's?
Yeah, see, that long drive.
Oh, yeah.
She's got one contact in her eye.
I'm sorry. I had a
She can't
contact
see.
rip on my eye so I can half see this morning. No, that'd make it worse.
It's just west of John Harden's.
Okay.
I think so.
Chuck Fleece is then north of that.
There we go, okay. There's so many Higgins,
Yeah,
we get confused.
okay.
Clay Road, just south of North Salem.
So we're talking about this area here. There's a tile that runs through, goes into great length, drains all these fields, and it outlets right in here. Right in here, we have 2 pipeline crossings. The ditch actually, the line is off a little bit, runs through here. It's a very wooded area. So we would need to clear a path of trees on each side. We're working with the pipeline company to get both of those lines lowered. We just got the plan of profile from Banning yesterday. So we're asking them to lower it a couple more feet.
What pipeline company?
Buckeye,
Buckeye, yeah. Yeah, and we actually, I think this is one we worked with Greg on too, getting a letter sent to them. We were having a hard time getting any communication.
Isn't there a pair of those?
Yeah, there's 2.
There is.
So when we met with them, they all came from Pennsylvania. Dirk and I met with them out there and probed and found the lines, showed them where they were and what we needed done. So we sent them the plan of profile yesterday. And the guys that met with us in the field, they seem to be willing to work with us to get the lines lowered. So I don't have an exact answer on if they're gonna do that. Obviously, we're gonna fight to get those lowered because we need to dredge the ditch. We've gotta get a little bit lower so that pipe will, it's covered most of the time, at least 50%. And it doesn't drain, so the field doesn't drain. So we've gotta get the work done. My question to the board would be, well, this would be for the ARP committee. We are requesting, based off of Joe Miller with Banning Engineering's engineer's construction cost estimate, to receive $61,500 from ARP funding to fund this project. There is no money in that grant account, not enough. So I filled out the application. With the board's permission, I would like to give that to Denny to present to the committee.
Denny.
And then I guess you guys can just notify Dave or I when to make a decision. We would appreciate any help we could get.
I think there's money still left, so, yeah.
Tiffany, what angle does those pipes cross that ditch?
That's what I was gonna ask.
They run east and west, so they're,
90 degrees or?
that I don't know.
I don't
'Cause
think
we
they're
haven't-
90.
We haven't
I
dug it up.
don't think the way that sits, it can be 90.
That's what
It's 90.
Well, and we haven't dug it up because that's something that we can't do. Buckeye has to.
I was looking through some of the other trees in here to see if I could get the angle.
They haven't even cut the right of way.
Yeah, I don't know. No, they have not, it doesn't look like.
Question, for Tiffany and Joe. You know, on the Ross, way up on Odom's, up at the north end, there was a pipeline that, Joe, you said it wouldn't bother us, and it didn't. Would it be an option to go ahead and do the work and then they lower the,
No, they won't lay it.
they won't?
So they might be able to, there's actually some cover there, more than you see in a lot of places. So they might be able to provide an armament over the top of it and still be okay.
To
Because
do
they've got-
something, yeah, okay.
Yeah, they still have a couple feet of cover even after our proposed grade comes through. So I think that would probably be something they would be willing to do. It would be hard for them to lower that line, but they might put some armament over the top.
Well, proceed,
Okay.
and Denny can.
And we're just gonna work with them. I mean, they seem to wanna work with us. We were kind of pushy, and I was kind of pushy to them to get them to work with us. So we'll see where it goes, I guess. But the first step is to request for funding to
okay.
pay for the project.
We need
There was a
motion to
concrete
submit it
blanket
to
out
it.
there. Is that removed?
All the rest of them had to do that too.
Okay. 'Cause I know they said they didn't want that anymore. They didn't want a concrete blanket.
Well,
Yeah,
they're gonna wanna do something.
Gary, you want to reflect on what you just said?
Previously, when all of the other ARP fundings were done, they needed a motion from the drainage board to submit.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Then moved and seconded, further discussion. Those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? None opposed.
okay, the last thing that I have is just an update on the ARP jobs. We had originally requested to get funding on 25, I believe, regulated drains. We have completed or are at very near completion of 20 of those projects. So we have 5 to go. 2 or 3 of those are probably gonna request informational hearings because they're pretty large drains. The Barnett, the Bots regulated drain, needs to be done. There's a lot of tree clearing that will need to happen. The John Green drains into the Bots legal drain. That's something that Joe has been working on, for a while, but we can't do that until we get the Bots drain done. So those are things that we should probably think about scheduling soon, especially since we're coming up on that time of year where we can legally clear trees due to bat habitat. So that's something that the board needs to
Tiffany, you want to
direct.
expand the other, what you called about the other day, you were kind of anxious about that we have overspent significantly on the Ross Joseph Jones by $150,000 and the impact. I said, well, the board will try to figure this out. Do we want to not do those 5 because we've overspent? Do we want to go through, borrow them from the,
So we still have money to do at least 1 or 2 of those.
right? Well, do we
So-
set a priority then and then let the other 2 not?
Right, and that's what I've done. So out of my list, I have the Barnett, the Charles Martin, the McVeigh, the John Green, and the Bots. And then if we get approval on the other one, I did not count that in this list.
Do you feel that with the money that's still left, the ARP, we can do those that you just quoted?
Well, I want to prioritize just to be on the safe side.
Okay.
So I would like to do the John Green and the Bots because those kind of coincide with one another. And then the Barnett and see where we're at on funding. Because that's kind of what I've been doing this whole time is prioritizing and then seeing where we're at on funding.
On the Barnett, we've done a lot of work on the Barnett and it's so flat. What else do you want to do on the Barnett?
You know, I can. Okay. So this would be on the lower end.
Yeah, we did the upper end.
Yes, we did.
We have approximately 6,200 feet of tree and brush clearing, 6,200 feet of dredging the open ditch, 3,100 feet of reshaping some problem areas on the open ditch, and finished grade, seed and straw.
Where does the Barnett outlet?
Oh my goodness. A lot farther south than you think. Let me find it. It goes around next to Maplewood, crosses just north of Washington Street, north of Danville, crosses under 39, and ends about 350 north and 200 west, right about here.
Okay.
So if I go out, you can kind of get an idea. There's Danville. So you're a couple miles north of Danville and a little west of Danville is where it ends.
It takes
Tiffany, what do you
Long,
They're at the-
arduous.
There at the B&O, there's a whole concrete structure
Yes.
there, and it's got a concrete bottom in it. It's holding back
maybe a foot of water.
Okay,
What are you gonna do at the bottom of that?
where is that at?
Remember, it's on Justin
It's on
Coleman's.
Coleman's.
Because remember, we originally talked about
Cut the
saw
center
cutting
of
just
that,
the center out, just to allow the flow line.
but if you cut that bottom, that's gonna weaken the whole side structure of that
We would
thing.
have to replace it
Oh,
at that
God.
point,
What?
or lower it. I mean, if you cut it, you're taking a chance on weakening the structure.
Absolutely. But unless you get rid of that bottom, you're not gonna do much help to the Barnett.
I don't know how.
Have to look at it.
You'd have to, you know,
That's
Joe.
something that I
and
would
Tiffany
probably
been
ask
working on
Joe
it.
to come out and meet with me to look at that.
Plus that crossing that Justin has holding back about 8 inches of water too. That big pipe that's been put in there before him, it was not his doing.
Okay, I think that's one that you and I talked about
We
a
did,
long
and we
time ago.
determined Justin's gonna have to pay to fix that.
Yeah,
Well, that won't happen.
Well, that'll be a fun discussion.
well, that's where Bob comes in. Bob works pretty well with Justin. Okay, so just so you all know, that's where we're at on those. If the board would like me to start working on putting some information together and schedule an informational hearing, that's up to you. I don't know what you wanna do.
Well, bring us a recommendation of your priorities. And
Well, I can tell you that now. The bots and the John Green need to come first. Well, the John Green cannot drain without the
Okay.
bots.
John Green is what,
It's,
it
it goes,
got-
it's
got
north
vac- it got
of Wings
vacated-
Meadows.
It got vacated
Oh,
there at 1025 into Lamar's because there was no drainage there. He got his taken off his tax rolls. So,
Yeah.
but we've up there.
Here's Wings
Andy,
Meadows.
to $10
Here's the
an
drain.
acre or 10, years ago, and we have done nothing there. So it's very much overdue.
do you think we can do some good there? I mean, I know there's good to be done there, but from an elevation standpoint, can we get something done there? Because it's flat up in there.
Joe
Joe.
Miller has a
Joe.
comment.
So we, Tiffany, there are some issues there. You've got a couple of pipelines that cross the bots downstream of it that are problematic. You, in our opinion, you can put in the new pipe through the John Green and it'll do some good, without doing a ton of stuff downstream. Like, you're pinned in with the pipelines. You're not gonna be able to lower that unless they lower. That's the issue that you run into, and that's part of the issue that it's having.
So in your collective opinion, we can help those people in Wings
It
Meadows?
will be an improvement. You're not gonna get it
Sure.
to any kind of design standard. It's just gonna be an improvement.
The tail of John Green goes across that same pipeline, and then when we did the Bat's Arm 1 along the side ditch,
Yes.
did all that work, we bared it off.
Marathon Pipeline would lower their pipeline. That was for John Ayers and the commissioners. He wanted to do the roadside ditch.
South of,
It was gonna cost.
Yeah.
They refused to lower their pipeline, Marathon.
So we got
For
as
the
close to it
commissioners.
as we could, and
Yeah.
So Joe, your professional opinion, could we do the John Green without doing anything on the bots for the time
It's
being?
not gonna change, like, you're not gonna be able to do anything different than what you're gonna do.
Okay.
So even though you might have an improvement downstream by doing some stuff, it's not gonna change what you're gonna do on the John Green.
So then we could go ahead and technically start working on the John Green,
Yeah.
the plan
We've
profile.
about got planned, they'll probably be done this week. So.
Okay.
well, in my
So-
opinion, we need to move forward with these and allow Surveyor's Office to move forward. So, do we wanna, we'll need a motion to allow the work. Do you have to get quotes to us then?
We will do quotes.
Do we need a motion then that would reflect to allow the work to begin on the bots and the John Green? Is that what we need?
Well, for the John Green, we don't really need to do an informational hearing, but if we're gonna do the bots, then I would say we probably should, because that's a lot of tree clearing. Now, I have reached out to the majority of the farmers on that ditch. Several of them have told me Tiffany, go out there and clear whatever you want, I don't care, I don't want the trees.
Sure.
Mike Starkey does not care for us to cut the trees down because of, what is that he has installed on the?
Yeah,
property?
it's down by St. Malachi. He's got the,
750 north to Maloney Road.
he worked with IDEM on that.
He has several scientific structures on that
Bob
piece.
Barr, yeah.
So he
And
doesn't want us to
the
clear
bottom,
anything
the bottom
on his
flows
property.
nicely, I mean, it's a solid bottom and
Right.
the banks are held.
We'd need to
Trees.
avoid that area.
Trees are really not bothering that portion of the ditch anyway.
The majority of everybody else has told me, go ahead and do whatever. But I still think it would probably be a good idea to have an informational hearing, and we could do that during a second meeting of the month.
Absolutely. But
So
we do
that,
need to have the informational meeting. You're right. Okay,
so we'll, with your permission, we'll start on the John Green and get quotes for that, and then we will start working on scheduling an informational hearing for the box.
So moved that we authorize
Thank
the
you.
surveyor's office to,
You don't, you've already approved all of these originally. So unless you want to force the prioritization, you don't have to make a motion.
Because we submitted it for ARP funding and we approved the submission. So they got the funding and
I would like for something to be in the minutes though, as
Okay.
Phyllis said, that
Fine.
tells about the informational meeting. And I will second
yeah.
Phyllis's
Oh, yeah.
motion.
so my motion would be that I authorize the surveyor's office to proceed with these two drains and to schedule an informational hearing and to get quotes on the one drain.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? Those in favor of that motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
There are none opposed, motion carries.
Okay, I've rambled enough.
Okay, Dave, you, that wishes to be heard, we're gonna try to clarify access to your property and what's, projected to be done. I don't joke and show you. I think it's just semantics that, Tiffany said that the surveyor's office does not, allow, entry of any of our contractors unless the right of entry is signed. And the cons were hesitant to sign that, and I told them, I said, don't sign anything you're not comfortable with. So Dave, you want to present what your hesitancy is?
Well, hold on a second, we're Dave and Jan Kahn
Thank you.
with JD Farms, Liston, Indiana.
We heard Mr. Gentry verbally, or I did anyway, explain what the, let's call it remediation, okay, of this issue here. And this came from Tiffany. It was a little map of the proposed remediation. And from what I heard, and the evidence on this map that I received is two completely different things. And so we kind of want clarification on that.
Okay, we need, Joe, would you come up here, please, and tell what your design was of the riprap? There was the way you go ahead, tell what your thoughts were.
So I think when we met out there earlier, and I think there was just there were trees on all this before, right? So like you couldn't really see a whole lot. There's not a whole lot that you realize was going on. But you'll see here, this is and it's hard to see. This is topographic mapping here of probably from like 2005, I think.
Close.
Of the area in question here. So here's the area that you see, the kind of a trapezoidal little connection between where the pond is and where this is. And you'll see this bank here is lower than what this bank is here. So when we were out there before, I think that was covered up just because the ditch was so high. When we were out there before, mistakenly, had thought like, holy crap, this whole thing washed out. And that's not the case. This has just been lower. Has always been lower than what this side is. So when the ditch comes up 4 foot or so, it just floods the whole thing, both sides, and covers up both sides. So the connection point between your pond and here is this little kind of opening here.
There's a washout.
It's been there for quite a while. There's rocks around it and some other stuff. What the intention is to instead of armoring this whole thing down through here, it doesn't really make sense, because once this gets full, this is gonna get full as well. Don't really wanna put a pipe in here, because that's just gonna perhaps change the water levels between the two. So when the ditch would get high, that would mean the pond would be low, to be trying to force water in there. Allowing it to kind of free flow back and forth allows it to kind of keep a static equilibrium. So realistically, what we want to do is just make sure that these nubs here and this part here, they don't erode back and forth. And really they shouldn't, but we just want to make sure that's the case. So we want to really kind of trim down what was kind of talked about initially, where it was going to be this huge project all the way back and forth. The vegetation should hold these. I think we want to keep looking at that. But this is a spot here where it makes sense to armor this a little bit while it's accessible, and just to make sure this connection stays open and doesn't have a detrimental effect on the pond or the ditch.
So clearing of the trees on the south side of that has exacerbated the erosion. So the
Big time.
trees before
Big
would
time.
prevent the floodwaters from coming over on us to some degree. All right, but now that they've been cleared out, whenever we have heavy rains, that washes that out
Big time.
big time.
Big time.
And Bob was there, and I believe you were there when all that flooding was going on in April.
Yeah, I saw it, and the water level just comes up,
Right.
and it covers the whole thing. What this shows and what the topography shows is that those elevations were low already, because they kind of come up, this kind of comes up together. So there's not a ton of water that just like flows over like a dam over the top. It would kind of come up together and it would become in an equilibrium state. So what we don't
How
wanna
much do you estimate this particular flooding, and this past spring we had 2 torrential rains, and that ground was not clay, it was black topsoil dirt, okay, and it was fragile dirt to begin with. And they went in there with track machinery and mini excavators and all that and dug all that up. Worst possible time, spring floods come, that ground was just powder. And, okay, I'll agree with that land was lower on the south side of that. I'll agree with that, okay? But the worst possible time, and then all of a sudden, I guarantee you that land was at least 12 inches, 2 feet, who knows, washed away from those 1 or 2 rains earlier this spring. And that went probably all the way down into here somewhere. Not just right here, it was way down in there. And you can go out there and check that dirt right now as we speak, and it is not clay, it's topsoil. It's really nutrient-rich topsoil.
You want it to grow.
You want it to grow, and then when they
vegetation.
got in there with the track machinery and so forth, and it's really the only way they could get in there doing what they were doing, I think, right? I mean, I don't know how else you would get in there and really tore up the ground, something fierce, and then, an act of God washed it all away. And we just want something that is a little more permanent, a little better. Because years ago, that there was a culvert pipe between the ditch and the pond. There was, okay. And over time, some of that, washed away. And now it's, completely one and the same, if you will. And I don't have an answer for all that, but we would, I think what we would like to see, and what I heard Mr. Gentry talk about was, putting the rip in between there, and then, okay, no culvert or anything like that, putting that in between there, that would help filter some of that out, and over time, perhaps, maybe that would get dammed up a little bit, with silt and so forth, I'm sure. And then bring some of that at least a little bit on the north side like you have there, and bring that down on the south side, I would say, what would you say, 100 feet?
Yeah.
Something like that. That would satisfy us right there.
That doesn't seem too far removed from what your recommendation is it, Joe?
Not necessarily. I mean, we weren't out there when the rain, to see if there was any
Well,
topsoil that was moved or
pictures,
not,
we
but
have videos, if y'all wanna see that.
Well, I
Well,
sent them to
Jo-
Mr.
And Joe has some aerials from
the
way back.
so here's what the board needs to decide, okay, is to what level they wanna have the project in. So if the cons made a very valid point when the soil was disturbed, the roots were removed, and then it rained, is there a possibility that some stuff maybe washed out a little bit? Yes, it's hard for us to tell with evidence based off of this topography and the topo that was shot. Like, you just can't tell that kind of stuff. So that was at the most, I guess. That was at the, yeah, right, it was at the time when something could happen, if it was gonna happen, right? Now you've got a bunch of vegetation starting to grow on there, the bank should be more stable. Does the board wanna make sure that it does have grass and it's able to grow, and then to what level of project they wanna do the rock as well?
Let's just say for a moment, for sake of debate, we were talking about one load of riprap. So if we had, you're gonna minimal amount here. So if we extend, instead of going here, we go down about here, to me, that would be a compromise, and it would do kind of what we're talking about. Because this vegetation, my experience has been, if you have a big washout and it takes topsoil, unless it's all topsoil, you're not gonna have anything grow back. Well, it's got vegetation growing back, so I think a compromise would be if we just went 2 loads of riprap instead of 1, that it would extend down here, and that'd be a compromise, but that's up to the board.
Define a load.
I think so realistically, when we were talking earlier, we were talking maybe 20 feet each way. I don't think it's fair to the cons to describe just a load of riprap. I think you would want to describe a length along.
Okay.
So if it's hard to determine, as Mr. Khan said, hey, what's a load? You just don't know how well it's gonna place, right?
Well, a load, am I 20 tons on a triad?
You could have a single axle, a triaxle, there's all kinds of
Well,
different loads,
right.
right?
Well,
So-
don't we, Tiffany, we gotta be able to get somebody in there, don't we?
Well, yes, and the quote that we received is gonna be void, we're gonna have to re-quote it, because
Right.
that was based on the last meeting's
Right.
discussion, and so
But, so if
but yes, the first thing is we would need a right of entry sign to access the
Well, yeah,
property to take the rock back
There
there.
was some wording in there that we weren't real comfortable with, and that's why, we were kind of under the assumption that when we signed that, this deal was done and that was it. There was no going back.
No, all this was, Dave, was just the right of entry.
Okay.
And even if you considered it, that the proposal that was the end of it, that was not the case. They
The
just
wording
need,
was,
she
to us,
just,
was a
Tiffany
little-
just needs to get,
I do have a question though. It does say that the owners waive the right to make a claim for any damages. So what if a loader gets in there and tears up this topsoil more, or the berm more?
That's part of the quote process, we always make them put in there to repair any damage that's done.
But in the right of entry, it says that the owner, which would be us, waives the right to claim for any damages for any act which is outside of the right-of-way limits.
ma'am, Can you help us out here?
Yeah. Can I see the current draft right away?
Didn't we have a situation in Avon where we had to replant grass?
Can I ask a
Sure.
question that was my ignorance, I guess? Who owns this property?
We
Do
do.
you own that property? So that is your property? Okay,
Their property lines go
okay,
to the center of the Ross ditch.
okay,
The easement is 75 feet from top of pay.
okay. Thank you.
We'll wait for Graham's.
Yeah, it's talking about damages for acts that are outside the right-of-way limits. Okay, so, you know, this is just a temporary right-of-way to get access to your property, but we want to make sure you're obviously comfortable.
Well,
with
you know, we kind of understood that, but it seemed like, you know, there was a little bit more fluff built into that paragraph there, you know. As far as if we sign it, this whole thing is done and over with, and, okay, this is the way we're gonna do it. That's why we didn't sign it, because we knew that we wanted a little bit more here.
Well, in the right of way,
Yeah, and that's.
can I say something? The right of way is just along here to access. It has nothing to do with this work right here, okay? So this is totally separate from what we're asking this right of way entrance. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
They just need
The right
permission.
of way there is, and then the easement,
The easement's totally different.
easements, you can use that to access the easement rights, and
That's
then you
correct.
have the right of way deal.
That's correct.
Which, if anybody cares, that entire right of way, that was a railroad years ago. I don't know if you guys knew that.
Yeah.
It's the old interurban railroad that went to Crawfordsville.
Yes.
It might be helpful to attach a map to this or exhibit so they can see exactly where the right-of-way would be.
Well, no, I mean.
You understand where
Yeah,
that
we
is.
understand that, I think, don't you, Jen?
Yeah. Yeah, I was just concerned about that sentence that said that we waive the right to make a claim for any damages outside of the right of way.
So, I mean, we're a matter of record here now, so this has been addressed, I think, correct?
Yeah, what would you like it to say, I guess?
Well, I mean, I want that excluded, that sentence
The
excluded.
outside
because-
of the right of way.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Is that unreasonable?
That's fair. I mean, if we're outside of the right-of-way where they've given us permission.
Right.
And we cause damage, it seems that
Right.
we should repair that.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think we would anyway.
Yeah, we would. That's right, Kenny. We would.
It's on the
We
record
had,
now.
You know, we had,
We can
as far as the actual work that was done, I think, you know, they did everything that we asked them to do. It's, you know, it's not a golf course by any stretch of the imagination, but it was, we asked for firewood, and let me tell you, we got some firewood.
I'm sure you did.
Deal, you know, but, yeah.
So if we mark those few words out, you're willing to sign the temporary right of way then? Okay.
I am,
Yeah.
I need to speak up real quick because our contractor that quoted this is not here. And he was very adamant to make sure that he has a right of entry so that he won't, in the long run, be sued.
Sure.
Because what this is not for our regulated drain easement, not for that work. This is to come in on the north side of the railroad through your property that's outside of our easement. So the
See, that
contractor,
really wasn't clear on that, was it?
that's what that's for. That's what a right of entry means. Giving
Yeah,
us
that's where we need the exhibit. Why don't we
That's right.
rework this a little bit
Follow Graham's advice and attach.
so we're all on the same page?
We can do that.
Can we bring that back to our next meeting then?
Absolutely. We've got to get a new estimate anyway for the work to be done, so we'll bring that back at the
We
next
need to
meeting.
go maybe a little further, but we're not gonna go crazy. You know, and go all the way down. We're
Oh,
just,
no,
we need to
no, we're not
maybe
expecting-
extend it, maybe 75 or 100 feet and And,
Are you gonna, you wanna fill in there?
and just, well, the way I see it, I'm just one member here. I see it, we're just gonna go down right where about where it says 74, the elevation there, go down that far. And I'm not out there right now, but
No.
obviously,
Not there, about there.
yeah, right there. That seems reasonable.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
That's about what, 25
It's about
feet?
We need a measurement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't do a,
You can't visually tell how long that
no,
is?
sir, not, I'm not that good.
All right.
40 feet in each direction,
40 feet to the south, 20 feet
40 feet to the south. And how much to the north?
20.
What about, are you gonna fill in the gap?
I don't, it's
I
gonna
don't
be
think-
my opinion that I
I
don't
first
think you wanna
thought we
do it.
needed a pipe in there, and Joe has explained, I don't think we want a pipe in there. I don't think,
There's a reason why the
Speaking for
pipe
you.
failed the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're not getting any, like, there's not a big headwater coming on where your water will go up and hold
There
water
used to
back.
be, years ago, there was a 4-foot difference between the pond and the creek. She used to swim there, there was catfish
Yeah,
in
now
there, there was
there's-
bass in there.
Now there's nothing,
There's
all of our
nothing, it's
fish wash
all-
downstream and.
Would you
after
say
flooding.
that the work done in the spring, this spring caused that issue?
no,
No, it-
Oh, no, that's been-
It's been gone for,
it's been gone for a long
Exacerbated
time.
that issue,
That's been gone for a long time.
made it a little bit worse.
That's been going for a long time. So I think all we're, I want to help the cons out, but I don't think we're responsible for, because if we put a pipe back, I think it's gonna be a huge maintenance issue to try to get it set right and get it to flow right for them and for us. It would just be hard to do, I think. So I think a good compromise is to extend the riprap. And I don't know if you want to put it, shows a chunk of concrete or two in there that somebody's thrown in there at one time or another. Joe, do you and Tiffany want to take a look at it again and see if you want to put something in the bottom of the aperture there? I'm just hesitant to, as a farm guy.
A small
Yeah, if you put
layer,
a coat on the floor, on the bottom, you reckon?
just to, you could do a little bit, just to keep it from washing
Yes.
on the
That's,
bottom.
to me
Yeah.
reasonable.
But you just gotta be careful when you, because of IDIM,
Absolutely.
then you have to go through IDIM and stuff like that, so.
Well, I think personally, let's have Tiffany and Joe look at it one more time.
Sure.
And see how much you want to extend it, what you want to do in that bottom.
I think it's pretty well defined. Like, when you get to banks, it's not super wide. When you fill in the bank, it's gonna have a little bit kind of going to the bottom too. I think you're pretty good.
Okay,
So I need to be clear so that I can get with our contractor to re-quote this. You want to do class 1 riprap around each side, 20 feet on the north, 40 feet on the south, wrapping around both sides, going up the bank.
that sounds reasonable to me.
What is your, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I'm concerned about the waters coming from the north when there's a flooding situation like that. Will that wash away the class 1 riprap?
No, class 1 riprap is 24 inches. It's pretty big.
And keep in mind, this is a legal drain, so if there's something happens, we're gonna be responsible for going back in there for maintenance anyway.
How much from the original, the red line, is that the original or is that the updated line?
That was the original. And then we got a little bit, you can see the length here, kind of showing.
Okay, so on the north side, that'll just be as is?
It'll be, yeah, that's a higher air elevation anyway. It doesn't really need anything up that high.
You know,
So the way stresses work on stream channels, like as soon as you get into the floodplain, so you see over here, you got a floodplain over here, all those velocities kind of go way down. So it's not near as important. So you just get to riprap up to a point where it's starting to flood out, and then you go a foot above that, and you're usually in pretty good shape. So
well, I would ask that at least in the gap, just put like, if you could put like one layer of the riprap at the bottom, just one layer right there at the bottom.
Okay, I think,
Right.
I think we've resolved as much as we can. But it's something that's ongoing, but, it's a legal drain, like I said, we're being watching all the time, so if something starts to erode, we'll have to get back in there.
Well, yeah, okay, all right, fair enough.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Dave, Jan.
I will be, AIC conference is in Belterra in this month, and I'll be down there at the next drainage board meeting.
Okay. Is there anyone else who has something you'd like to bring forward, board? Okay, at this time, I'm gonna allow anyone who has anyone up here who wishes to reflect on Stan Ryland's life and his impact on the sport. If you wish to reflect on that, you can do that.
Well, I guess I can start. Back when I became commissioner, we made the decision to increase the drainage board from 3 commissioner members to 5. And at that time, we chose Jack Maloney and Stan Ryland. And so I've been a commissioner, I'm almost into my 20th year, and I've worked with him. He's been faithful, he will tell us if he has to miss a meeting. I talked with him last Monday, Labor Day. I just called to check on him. And he was so weak, and he said, I'll see you next Tuesday. So, he really was strong and fought. And I talked to his wife yesterday, and she said he passed peacefully. And
Praise the
so,
Lord.
yes, and so he's been a valued member of the drainage board and faithful, and I appreciate him.
Thank you, Phyllis.
I will miss him. He was my buddy down here.
I've known Stan for a long time. He's right-of-way specialist with Centerpoint or Vector. We have 14 pipelines going through the farm, so I've dealt with Stan for years and understood his lifelong work as a drain tile installer. He's one of the few people that I could lean on to understand drain tile beyond my knowledge, and I walked in with him last Tuesday.
Anyone else?
Stan was my therapist for the drainage board. He was my neighbor, my buddy, my therapist. He would walk me off the ledge. I love him dearly, Christian man and brother, and I will miss Stan Ryland.
I would just say I only knew Stan when I became a commissioner a little more than 3.5 years ago. And he called me when he was going through his pancreatic cancer to talk to me about some things. And so I helped him through that process. And he was just a gentleman through it all, because he was told that everything's been done, could be done, and it was confirmed, and he was willing to accept that. And I know it was hard, but he was such a man of faith to know that we only live so long, and his time was coming to an end, and he accepted it well.
Thank you, Dan. Thanks, everybody. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Vote.
Do you know the arrangements yet?
Steve said he would let me know as soon as he was. Steve's gonna do the service. So he's gonna, yeah.
No sound.
Good morning. We do have a quorum. I apologize for not starting at 9 o'clock and let the record show that it is 9:17. Drainage Board ran over a little bit, and so if you would join me in the pledge to the flag and care to a prayer led by Commissioner Dawes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father God, we thank you this morning. Those that were with us earlier in remembering our friend Stan Ryland. Father, we thank you that he was able to serve this county well on the Drainage Board, and now that he's in your presence, we pray for his family as well at his loss. Father, bless us in our meeting this morning. Give us your wisdom and guidance. We bow before you as Father and Creator. We thank you for all you've given us. In Christ's name, amen.
Thank you, Commissioner. As Denny mentioned, we lost Stan Ryland on Sunday morning. He was here 2 weeks ago when we had our Drainage Board meeting, and he was a loyal and faithful member of the Drainage Board. He also served on Hendricks Power Board for many years. And when I first became a commissioner, we increased the size of the Drainage Board from 3 members, which were commissioners, to 5. And Stan was chosen, as well as Jack Maloney. So we've all been touched by his service and his life and dedication. And, you know, we're sad that we've lost him, but know that he no longer is in pain and uncomfortable. Appreciate everybody being here this morning. The first item for approval is the minutes.
Move for approval.
Second.
We actually don't have minutes.
We don't.
So if you would care to, we have minutes, but they have not been sent to us for
Oh,
approval
okay.
yet, so,
I would move approval of the claims that we
okay.
were sent and
Second.
and reviewed.
Okay. Any comments or questions about the claims?
No.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Is there any unfinished business that didn't get on the agenda?
Don't believe so.
All right, we will start with new business, and John Ayers, you have requested a public hearing for no truck traffic on certain county roads. And they are 875 South and 850 South and County Road 870 South and Hendricks County Road. At this time, I would open the public hearing. Does anybody have any comments? This would be posted, no trucks.
I'd like to comment on Tudor Road on the south of the county.
Would you please come forward and state your, huh?
That's a different road.
So I live on, you ready?
If you'd state your name and
Okay.
address for the record, please.
My name's Steve Whitkey, and I live on 1697 Tudor Road, outside of Hazelwood. And the reason I come to this meeting, I was wanting some information on the heavy traffic going down the county road now.
Which road are you speaking?
Tudor Road.
Tudor Road is not included in this.
South of Hazelwood.
Right, this ordinance is about only a different, this is about 875 south, 850 south.
And if that's something you don't want to talk about now, I just, I seen it on the internet and I wanted to get some information on why I've got so much cement trucks and dump trucks full of lime. Perhaps 20 of each, and I also have freight trucks traveling that road, Dollar General, Amazon.
On Tudor?
Yes. 18-wheelers. I'm not talking farm traffic. But,
Well,
if that's something that you don't want, not gonna be covered in this meeting, I understand that, but,
This, right, and you're right, the way it was advertised, it just said certain county roads. The ordinance specifically is for, like I said, 875 south going east from 39 basically all the way over to 267, how they snake through there. So this particular ordinance is about a different road, but we can talk about that later in the meeting if you want, or if you want to go ahead.
Do it for under comments from the floor, you can do it now.
Yeah, it's up to you. It's up to you.
could we do it under your report, John?
Yeah.
So, John explained to you which county roads that we're talking about. Now, we've advertised, and this is the public hearing on those particular roads.
okay.
So it's very similar to what you're talking about, and we'll address it when John gives his report.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
We'll talk about it.
Are there any other comments regarding this ordinance for no trucks? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing.
The map kind of shows, the reason there's so many roads listed on there is they kind of weave around through there, and I didn't get every road segment named in the ordinance because the ordinance would have been 10 pages long. But I hit the main points. If the point is they're trying to get from 39 over to 267 in Mooresville, at some point or another, they're gonna be on these 3 roads that are listed, or 4 roads that are listed. So I think that hits the high points so that the sheriff can enforce that if we need to. We've had some reports of semi-traffic, similar to what he's talking about, cutting through there. I don't know if Google's directing them that way or what they're doing, but this would help alleviate that issue.
And to clarify, that does not include grain trucks from local farmers and,
Correct. It does not include any local delivery traffic so that would include farmers working in that area or deliveries to houses or businesses along the stretches of
but it would include an Amazon.
Right, it's to catch through traffic.
Yeah. What would the ordinance be?
Question, Madam President.
Yes.
So, we spoke the last time, excuse me. Where do you prefer they go, John?
If they're going to Mooresville, they need to stay on 70.
Okay.
If what?
So why are they taking these routes anyway?
I don't know. I don't have any idea because it's not a shortcut. I mean,
No.
driving anything bigger than about a pickup on those roads is a challenge. It's gonna slow them down. I don't have it. The only thing I can figure is Google's directing them that way for some reason.
Okay.
I don't know. But no, they need to stay on 70 or go up to 40.
Okay.
They're trying to get from point A to point B. I agree.
So do I have a motion to approve ordinance number 2024-36 on truck traffic on certain county roads?
Bob made the motion, I'll second it.
Any further questions?
No.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
John, we have signs up or will have signs up at some point in time.
We will have signs up, yes.
Okay.
We will put up signs. And I'll put them at each end of those road segments.
Right.
John, I believe you have the next item.
I do.
Update on GIS contours.
Yes, this is to update on our GIS map. We have 1 foot contours of the whole county showing the terrain and the grades throughout the county. Those were last updated, I think, about 15 years ago, and at a pretty significant cost, probably in the $1 to $2 million range. I don't remember for sure, but it was expensive. We have an opportunity to update them now as part of a normal update that the state does to their statewide system. And they will update the county 1 foot contours for $28,853. I've talked about this with the county surveyor, and he's agreed to split that cost. So we have it in our budget. So this is a good move. They need, you know, in most places the ground probably hasn't changed, but in a lot of places it has. So
We witnessed one today.
That's for 1 year, right?
it's a one-time update.
It's just one time.
Right. And in a few years, they'll come back to us with another opportunity.
I'll second the motion.
Do you have a contract for us?
I just have a kind of an agreement. They said they don't really have an agreement, but if you wanna, there's no signature line on there, but if you wanna just initial it or sign it as the president,
Okay.
that should be adequate.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
It's a heck of a deal.
LiDAR.
I think I'll use get cheaper, I believe.
She calls LiDAR.
I believe.
You want to send this back to John since. Jared Haskell. Yes. Come on down.
Thank you.
You've requested a proclamation for Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Yes, ma'am.
And we would like to go ahead and sign that and present it to you. I think it's unfortunate that we need this, but every day people are suffering from domestic violence. So we're glad to declare the month of October as Domestic Violence Month. Do you have any comments?
If you join us, please wear purple on October 17th.
On October 17th, do you have an event or?
It's National Wear Purple Day. Yep, and there will be officials and participants wearing purple all over the country. So, kind of in solidarity. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the work that Childering Wings does.
Our next item is a proclamation for Constitution Week, which is September 17th through the 23rd. Debbie, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Thank you.
This is something we've done before, and it is good to remember.
Yes. And Constitution Day is the 17th, and that's federal and state law. So it's exciting, really, to me.
Yes.
Do you want us to wear any certain color that day?
Has to go with blue. Has to go with
Red,
purple.
red, white, and blue, maybe?
Yeah.
Right?
That's-
So you all would
that's
be
not a
just,
problem. Thank you.
I'm gonna take a quick picture with you guys.
That's
Okay.
so much.
Thank you for all your work you do.
Thank you.
We have a request for reappointment to the Peterborough
Peterboa,
That is,
Tax Board of Appeals.
that's hard to get out.
I know, it is. Thank you this morning for hearing this. Mark Ratterman, who is our current appointee, would like to continue to be on the board. So he has provided his application and everything, and he has been a fantastic member of our board and we just really love having him. So we would love to have him back.
He has good credentials.
He has fantastic credentials and he's doing a great job for us.
Good.
So,
I'll second.
Do you have a form for us to sign, or I suppose Mila has it?
yeah, I really don't know. It's the Peterboa, I don't really think there is a form.
Okay.
There's a claim, but that's nothing I don't think that you guys have to
Okay.
file.
All those in favor, did you have?
I was just gonna ask, does that board have a regular meeting or is it kind of as called?
It's as called,
Okay.
so,
Very good.
All those in favor of the reappointment to the Peterborough Board signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Don't go anywhere.
I won't.
You have a contract for TMA.
TMA, Tax Management Associates. Vicki, would you like to come up, and Jeremy? They can kind of give you a better understanding. I think I have forwarded all of the information to you guys over the last several weeks. But I'm gonna really let Vicki kind of talk about what this program is, because it is nothing but a benefit to the county.
Have we done this before?
We have done this before.
I remember hearing about it.
Yeah, it's been probably 10 years. I think Larry Scott was the assessor at the time, and when that contract ended, we didn't do anything else with it. So 10 years now in, it's time for us to get back into getting some of these personal property audits done, because I feel like there's probably a lot of money out there that we're losing, and that's what this is all about in terms of value. So
I tried to get through the information that you.
I think it'll be easier if Vicki just kind of explains to you how the program works, and take it away, my dear.
My name is Vicki Kinhair. I work for TMA. I was county commissioner in Clark County, Indiana for 10 years. Then I became county assessor. I was there for 2 terms, and I had hired TMA to come into my county and do our business personal property audits. They did such a fabulous job. I now work for them. They're a great company. I can't say enough good about them. This is Jeremy Johnson. He's an actual auditor with our company that will be in the field, that actually meets with the taxpayers and will work hand in hand with them.
So this will be personal visits with the property owners on their assessments.
I don't know what they turn
On their business personal property. So we're not talking the real estate side, we're talking the business personal property side, that is a self-assessment. So when they file their business personal property every year, we have to trust that what they're accounting for is true. And this company then comes in and makes sure that they're accounting for everything that they should be.
We also help train the actual taxpayer. Not everybody cheats on purpose. Personal property is a very convoluted way of taxation, and it's hard. And we also help train the assessor's office as we're doing the program on all the things that are up new. This program, one of the good things about it is there's no monies up front. We go in and we charge per audit. We do not charge a percentage. And we set up a non-reverting fund with the help of the auditor's office. And the money that we collect from our findings is distributed into that non-reverting fund. We are paid out of that non-reverting fund. We actually work in a county for about a year before we actually start getting payment, because we let that fund build up. And our contract states if we have no findings, we do not charge. So we're not in this to lose money. We always find enough. So, but then we're just paid out of that. At the end of the 3 years, we have 3 years to come in and do your county and get out at the the end of that 3-year term, the monies that is left in the non-reverting fund is then distributed to the taxing districts of which it was found, per state statute. I will say not everybody does that. Sometimes the county just keeps the money, but it's usually sent back to the taxing districts of which it was found.
And this is an audit of businesses and their personal property in that business. Do you ever go in and find that the other way?
Yes.
So you do find some that have reported too much, and so there's a return to them. Okay.
But it is, when we go in, like I said, when we actually, it's the point of the program, the money that's left in the county has been a great benefit, you know, but that's not really, the point of the program is to keep everything fair and equitable. To make somebody, you know, pay what they're supposed to pay and somebody not pay more than they're supposed to pay. And it also helps set that taxing rate within that district moving forward, not just with that special finding that we find.
Is there a notice of some kind that goes out that says we have entered into an agreement with TMA and you will be contacted by them at some point in time? So
I
that
believe they will come in and do a kickoff meeting with the auditor and the assessor and people. We receive her business personal property file from Exsoft, which is their tax vendor. We scroll through it and we do a compile a list of the businesses we plan on going out on. They are sent to her for her approval. Then we send out letters and we personally call and contact them and set up meeting places. And, well, first of all, usually they just mail a lot of stuff in, don't they? Jeremy can probably answer that better than I.
Yeah, generally, we send a letter that says, hey, we're working with the assessor, you're gonna be on. And if they don't reach out to us first, we have a timeline where we're reaching out to all of them by phone. Once we talk to them, we schedule an appointment, we send another letter confirming that appointment. Most of those people will send all of their information that we're looking at for audit, either electronically or through the mail. Some of them will want to meet in person. A lot of them won't want to meet in person, and we're dealing with either the taxpayer or the tax.
We've been in business since 1979. We're in 23 states. We have 40 counties in the state of Indiana.
And then also, if during this process, they find more stuff through that audit, and then that particular owner wants to file an appeal, then they will also then be my support for that appeal process.
And that appeal goes to the Peterborough Board?
Yes.
Is that where it goes?
Yes.
It starts there.
Yep.
If it's denied there and the taxpayer decides to take it to the state, the IBTR,
Okay.
we follow her throughout that appeal. I mean, we represent our findings.
That can't happen often, I wouldn't think.
It really does
Yeah.
not.
Our last program, I think I only came to Peterborough for one audit. And then we did 1,000 audits or something.
Madam President?
Yes.
Before you were the assessor, this didn't go very well.
Didn't?
No, it did not with the farmers, it did not, because they had been, when Nancy was a township trustee, it was different. They helped the farmers through those sheets, and now then, the farmers come in and pick up those documentation.
When I did that in Clark County, I thought I had to go to the Farm Bureau meeting with I've got a bulletproof vest.
I believe it.
It was, once I
Agriculture
explained that.
pays their, more than their
Yes.
share.
Well, I
That's
can
why they
tell-
feel like that.
Yes. Well, I can tell you the farmers, the Farmer Bureau, they have fought this. We do not audit farms anymore because they have changed the law so severely, we can't win. If we find out, like their exchange of their equipment was where we found a lot of our findings. And
Well, the value of the equipment was arbitrarily set, and it
Yeah.
was, in my opinion, and most farmers, it was wrong. The next question, will you be able to audit the steel mill?
Yes,
You
that is
will?
on the list.
Good luck.
Oh, thanks.
They need to.
They do need to be audited.
Yes, they
I
do.
mean, there are a lot, you know, in the last 10 years, I think about the amount of growth that has happened in this county. It is time to do this. It's definitely
But,
time to
we
do
do
this.
not
And we will
all the
not be
time.
doing the farms. You know, at this point, the way that the legislation has changed is any business who has personal property acquisition cost of $80,000 or below doesn't even have to file business personal property anymore. So we're really only talking about, you know, businesses that have, and most of it is, it's broken down in there. You can see like the numbers, and I don't know what page it's on, but Vicki did a really good job of going through and kind of giving you those projections and how many actual individual filings or individual property owners they would be looking at each level of acquisition costs. So like 80,000 to 400,000, and then 400,000 to a million,
That's where
or
I got
however.
lost.
Yeah, it's a lot of information, but it is.
So the $80,000 figure doesn't apply to agriculture?
It does, it could, but the
Well, there's,
law,
I mean, no,
the
if you have
laws
any
have
farm
changed.
equipment, you're gonna be way above
Oh,
80,000.
I cannot argue that with you, sir.
These audits, Mr. Gentry, will be ones that I have said that I want done. So they are only going to be auditing the individual companies that I want them to do, which is not the farms. The farms are not going to be audited.
Well, this question's kind of for the auditor, because Nancy told me that legislation showed that the steel mills, not just the one at Pittsburgh, but all steel mills received like a 50% reduction in personal property. They went from paying on 93 million to paying on 47 million.
Yeah,
So,
it's
so
complicated.
if legislation, is legislation going to preclude you from increasing their tax on their personal property?
What was the legislation?
Well,
I think
legislation.
it has to do with that pool 5 on, and that legislation is very specific
It is.
to certain
Mills.
steel mills,
Yes.
period.
Yeah.
So,
Electric-fired mini mills.
yes, mini mills, and there's only 5 in the state, so we just happen to have one.
So my question is, if they went from 93 to 47 million, will you be able to say, oh no, it's more like 52 million? Because that makes a big difference to the Northwest Hendrick School Corporation, where I live, and to the taxpayers of the Middle Township.
Yes.
So will you be able to do that? Because they're very, very cautious about letting anybody in there.
Well, one of the things that happens on a very few number of audits is they don't cooperate. Right?
Yes.
There's nothing we can do to make them let us in or make them provide their financials. At that point, our standard in-house operating procedure is to do, like Nikki would, if they didn't file at all, she forces an assessment. Right? We would do the same thing. We would force an assessment and send it back. And then if they appeal it, they're required to come before PETA and support their claim on the appeal. Burden of proof is on them to provide that.
Okay.
If they don't, they lose at PETA.
Okay.
They can still appeal that to the Indiana Board of Tax Review. Same thing applies. The burden of proof is on them to support their claim on the appeal because they never provided information for the audit.
Thank you for that explanation. Thank you.
So the material that you provided to us on your, and I have a general question on the cost proposal and the numbers you gave. I assume these are estimates.
Well, our numbers are fixed on what we charge per the size of the audit.
Okay.
Okay, so that's pretty much like you see it in ink.
Okay. All right. Very good.
But like I said, it makes no difference on what we find. Like if we
Yeah.
price that audit and we price it at like a $500,000 audit and that price, but we go in and we find out they have 5 million instead of the 500, we still only charge under what that roll was sent to us, not what we found.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Very good.
I have a question.
Are you guys allowed to, or has anybody ever asked to do utility?
We don't.
Personal property utility, because it's self-assessed.
Yeah.
And we're not allowed, we can't see the boards.
We generally don't.
Yeah.
Sometimes they
There's
get on
room
it on
for
accident.
Oh, yes, there is,
There,
and the
right.
state's working on it, but slowly. That was a big problem in Clark too, it's a big problem everywhere.
A large number.
Last question, Madam President. So maybe I didn't hear correctly, the big box theory where they make a presentation to the plan commission and to the commissioners, they're gonna build this warehouse or building and employ this many people, and after 2 or 3 years, and they seek to have that reduced by 50 or 80%.
Are you speaking about abatements?
That's an abatement.
That
Well-
would be an abatement.
The one in Michigan, they were successful in reducing their assessment.
That is real estate, so
Oh, you're on personal
we're,
property.
yeah, we're talking personal property, we're not talking the actual building, we're talking about all of the things inside the building. So all of our industrial warehouses, all of those logistic things, all of the conveyor belts and everything inside those buildings all have a value, and that's what we wanna make sure that we are capturing the correct value so that they're paying their fair share as they should.
We're not over.
Exactly.
Madam President, it's okay, I'll move approval of the contract with TMA for these audits.
And with their explanation of not being on agriculture and their pursuit of people, the steel mill specifically, I'll second that. I don't want to be anti-steel mill, but they're not our friend up there.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any further questions or comments?
They've answered my questions.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion to approve the agreement with TMA, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
I like
Thank
your
you.
comments
Thank you very
about
much.
Bureau.
It was bad.
This is me.
You need it.
There's seats up here. You wanna sit down?
Yeah.
Sit up here.
We have had a request for an amendment, 2 amendments to the employee manual. HR Administrator Aaron Hughes is going to present those.
Good morning. I have before you 2 amendments to our current employee manual. The very first one is regarding vehicles and our vehicle policy. And this would be changing the wording to include employees that routinely drive personal vehicles for county employment purposes in departments that have been provided county vehicles shall use the provided county vehicles whenever possible. Employees shall not submit mileage claims for driving their personal vehicles for such routine use when county-provided vehicles are available for use within the department. This does not preclude mileage reimbursement for infrequent use of personal vehicles to attend conferences, trainings, or other infrequent use activities. This does not apply to departments which are not provided county vehicles. So that would be the very first one that we are asking for an amendment. And of course, both policies today, we're just asking for you guys to take these under review and for vote at the next commissioners meeting.
Exactly. And any comments are to be directed to Todd.
Yes, yep. All written comments to go to Todd, questions, anything like that.
Okay.
Yes.
And I have copies up here. I put some back there, but I've got copies up here if anyone wants any.
And then the second one is regarding our time records. So several years ago, of course, you know, we moved from paper time cards to electronic time card system here at Hendricks County government. And at that time, we created a policy with time clocks. So we'd like to amend that policy to read, employees shall clock in and out at the dedicated time clocks at the entrance, exits, or other locations, if such a time clock has been installed at the work location and is operational. Employees who work in the field shall clock in and out at such a work location before performing field work and clock out at such a work location at the end of the day after performing field work. Clocking in and out by computer or cell phone shall only be acceptable where there is no access to dedicated time clocks and/or the time clocks are not operational. Employees working in the field may clock in and out for lunch using their phones. This policy does not apply to merit deputies or those that are called out after hours. There is an understanding that there may be occasions where an employee forgets to clock in or out and will need to do so from a cell phone or personal computer. So we're just asking for you guys to take this under advisement, review these policies, amendments for the next meeting.
Thank you. And as we said, Todd has additional copies there, and anybody that has comments can direct those to Todd via email or hand it to him. Appreciate your comments that you sent yesterday. And this is a joint effort with commissioners and the council.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
Mark Morgan.
Madam President, members of the commissioners, thank you very much for hearing me today, esteemed colleagues and staff. I appreciate you allowing me the time. My name is Mark Morgan. I'm town manager for the town of Danville, Indiana, right here where we are, obviously. And I've came to speak to you today about establishing a DORA. I've got maps if I may approach, or do you have them already?
I think we have.
Okay, perfect. Does anybody else need them?
Right here.
Yes, ma'am, yep. Perfect. So this is very much, this is very much in its infancy. We haven't really addressed this with our council yet. They have expressed interest to me, but we really haven't gone to all the proceedings that are required to do this because I've watched other communities do this, as you've seen around the state of Indiana. And one of the things they have forgotten to include is their county commissioners, and I didn't want to make that mistake. So what we're asking for is your consensus blessing to include the lawn, not the courthouse itself, just the lawn in our DORA. Some of the concerns that I've heard are trash, which again, I think if you've been to any of the concerts that we have fencing that goes up. It's at a 45-degree angle off the corners of your courthouse. Within that perimeter, they bring in, usually it's a downtown partnership, they bring in a vendor to sell alcoholic beverages, and then patrons who are in attendance have to stay within that fenced area. And so we've not had any complaints about trash that I'm aware of from any of your staff. We're usually pretty good. Our Parks Department goes in and picks everything up, makes sure the place is clean. Our Public Works comes in, empties the trash cans. So again, what we're really trying to do is to eliminate the fencing. Because again, our Public Works Department has to come in, put that fencing in because with the restrictions from excise, you have to have a fenced in area if you don't create the DORA. By creating the DORA, we don't have to have that fenced in area. So it allows the vendors that are on the square, whether it be Frank's, Courthouse Grounds, Central Normal, that people can go and actually purchase items from them instead of having to buy from a vendor that's brought in for the specific event. I don't know, again, I haven't seen anything on the downside where it would create any problems on your property because it's, quite honestly, in all honesty, I think it's already occurring. I think people are already, they set their chairs up on your lawn, and we don't regulate where they take the alcohol from that vendor. So again, that's why we're trying to do this, is trying to do it the right way and make this a feasible thing. I don't know that this will pass our council. I have no idea at this point. I just know that 2 or 3 of them have come to me and said, we'd like you to look into this. So
this idea came from the chamber?
No, actually, this
Downtown.
came from one of the town council members. He's the one that
Oh.
actually said, I want you to explore Adora. The state's allowed these for almost a year now, throughout the state of Indiana. It's a designated outdoor recreation area. As you can see, like I said, if you watch the news, they're popping up all over the place. That doesn't mean we're trying to keep up with the Joneses by any means. What the town's trying to do again is to eliminate having to put up the fencing. What we'll do is we'll have stickers that say, this is either the beginning or the end of Adora, so they can't take the alcohol outside of the Adora. If you look at the map, these are just, and again, these are crude renderings. We may have different final things, but
Which is which?
there are two different ones. One's showing a broader area and one is showing the alleyways. So if, depending on what, again, our legal counsel wants to do, what our council wants to do.
So the Dora would be in the red.
That's correct, it's
line,
inside the red line.
Inside the red
Right,
line.
that's why I put the red line excluding the courthouse. We excluded probation and we excluded the prosecutor's office, obviously. We did want to keep them out of those buildings.
And so if we were opposed to this, then the red line would basically go around the whole property.
Your
there.
perimeter, yes, sir, yep,
Okay.
yep.
So explain to me again, the fence that you're currently putting up for concerts, is that at the top of the wall for the courthouse, just on the south side, just where the concert
That's correct.
is?
Yep.
On both corners
That's
on the
correct,
south
yeah.
side?
It extends out at a 45-degree angle from basically the corners, the south corners of your building and go to the wall. And people sit on the wall, they bring lawn chairs, and they watch the concerts. Happy to answer any other questions. Like I said.
Mr. President. So, Mark?
Yep.
So there has been, in other words, alcohol's been being served here all the time?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I was under the assumption that it wasn't, that this was something that.
No, the partnership, which is usually in charge of those concerts, has always provided an alcohol vendor to come in, but they have to serve within that fenced-in area. Whether it be a beer garden, whether it be, I think Central Normal's been doing it lately, so it is local.
So is this going to cause people to wander around drinking more than they were previously?
I don't foresee it to be utilized like that, but it is possible. And again, on the town property, like I said, I've got a couple of the council members that are pretty adamant that they want to see this get, because what they want people to be able to do is, if there's a fair on the square, they want them to be able to enjoy the ambiance of the fair, the ambiance of the concert, and be able to purchase alcohol at a local vendor and be able to carry. And of course, the other thing that you have to know that to carry that alcohol, there has to be a designated cup. They have to have some specific that identifies that the alcohol was purchased within the Dora. They cannot bring in alcohol from outside. So they have to bring in, they have to buy this cup from a vendor. It'll say purchased within the Dora. We're actually looking at stickers for like the cans, no glass, obviously, we would not allow that. The other thing that you might notice on the maps too, that we did not include kickstand, which is on the farther north side of town. Two reasons. I don't know that they really want to be involved, but two, we didn't want to promote carrying alcohol across US 36. We thought that was a bad idea, no matter if it was legal or not. So we didn't want to do that. And the other thing is businesses can actually opt out. So if the floral shop says we don't want alcohol coming in, they can opt out. They put a sign that says no alcohol in this business. That's part of the door. They can do that. And like I said, it's just, we're just trying to, again, quit using the fencing.
Well,
if you know
one more
what I'm saying.
question.
Yeah.
So law enforcement, since it's on the courthouse, is the sheriff going to be asked to provide deputies to go along with Danville Police?
We've never asked the sheriff's department or court security to be there at all. We've always handled everything within our own, because the concert's being put on by usually again, the Downtown Danville Partnership. They're usually not actually town events. The town has almost no events. But other organizations have events that they get permission to have on our property.
This is just for special events, really.
It really, for your property, it would be, but the door is open, and we'll set the perimeters. We might say it's Tuesday through Saturday.
I mean, couldn't somebody right now go into an establishment, buy an alcoholic beverage, when they finish eating or whatever in there and they're not finished with their drink, get up, walk out with it.
I'm not in police work anymore. I used to be a long time ago, but I don't know what the laws are with the ATF anymore and excise. I don't know if Jack, if you know, can people carry out alcohol out of a business or not? I don't think so, yeah.
Okay. All right.
In a downtown ending, but.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And that's a numbers game, really. But like I said, we're just.
You're informing us today, and if your council approves it, you'll come back to us?
Actually, what I'm looking for is your consensus today to say that we can include that area, that lawn area, so that when I go back to my council to establish the DORA, I can say I do have county approval. Because again, I've watched some mayors in other parts of the state not quite get that permission, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yes, and
And it's costing
that
me
was
money.
one of the first ones that was proposed.
It sure
and
was.
The county commissioners
Right.
did not agree with it. And
Yeah.
since then, a lot of other communities have signed on to DORA.
Right.
And I'm not sure how they work that out. Of course, Westfield doesn't have a courthouse. I just recently saw where Mass Ave, that they passed it.
Yeah.
They don't have a courthouse,
Right.
though.
Right.
So I think that makes a difference.
Yeah, they're popping up all over the place. And I think those of us that have courthouses have learned our lesson from our neighbors to the north, if you know what I'm saying. So we're trying to make sure that we don't step on our own toes, if you know what I'm saying.
Madam President, my thinking is to leave it as it is currently and not have the courthouse grounds there be a part of the door.
Okay,
I agree.
okay. So all we
Sorry, Mark.
need is
That's all right.
just a consensus then. You have a consensus
I know
then.
what to take back.
Okay.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mark.
appreciate you taking the time to listen to me. Thank you.
Thanks for being
You
here.
bet. Have a good day.
Right. We have a update on our highway garage.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Wait, Jack's on the agenda, he drags me up here.
Well, it's just sort of the way it is. I've got other stuff to go. So Dan was here to bring sort of update on the highway maintenance garage.
Actually, since I have before, I have three things for you. The study,
They don't cost any money, do they?
No.
Okay.
just an update on the study, we're expecting a progress meeting next week. Todd will be invited to, with Eric Webland, to discuss where we are with the facility study. It's coming right along. The second thing is your jail building will be totally on the ground by Friday.
Really?
It's coming along pretty nicely. I think that's really all I have. But yours.
And I would agree with your earlier comments to us, I mean, not today, but how, I guess I'll say clean they're working out there to take that down. They've really done a nice job.
Yes, they have. It is. It was a big facility.
Yeah. So, all I'm doing today is just letting you know that we're running a pretty tight program on this highway garage development. So you know we did a budget back at the end of schematic design. This is a budget at the end of what we call design development. We've moved in now to what we call the construction document final design phase, which will be done in November, and then there'll be another one. So there'll be 3 validations that we're staying within the budget as the architect does his job. That's the whole purpose of this. And so I'm pleased today to present to you that currently, and Bob, don't get too excited yet, but currently we're at, if you remember the agendas, the referendum amount was 19,051. Currently, we're sitting at 18,619. So we have money within the budget to build, that's the bottom line. We have money in the budget to build a beautiful highway garage.
Now, the reason I said don't get too excited is when you start to move on to the next 2 or 3 pages I provided to you, you'll see that we also have there are allowances in that current budget that could vary. For example, we've run into 2 fairly significant things we're working through, one of which John's going to address to you later, but we have determined that there is really no feasible way to put a well in to support this facility. Ortman's come in and looked within a half-mile radius. There's not a well that's been done that would support 20 gallons per minute. So we're going to have annexation in city water.
Whose water?
Danville.
We was told Danville he couldn't have her.
Yeah, Mark on his way out told me good luck.
So we're going to have to jack and bore under 36 probably. Oh, no, I'm sorry, that's a separate issue. That's sewer. But for the water, we can tie on by the airport, but we're going to have it extended. That means you're going to have annexation for them to give us water, which John's going to address with you after a while. Means we'll have to probably increase some of our landscaping standards to Danville standards. So those are things that are coming into this project that, when I said don't get too excited, I still have some things to work through yet. We still have to work through the mound system and how we're going to store water for the wash bay. So those are things that are still up here. Plus, then we do have some alternates out there for radiant floor heat in the maintenance bay, building out in addition to the vehicle storage building, finishing out the shell space for the potential engineering office. It depends on somewhat the space study as to what we all decide to do with that. So I'm still working through some of those things, but the good news to you is I have room to make that work happen. So I don't think our project's in jeopardy in any way, and that's my primary message to you.
And it is good news, because initially we were pretty tight just building cost alone without the furnishings, fixtures and equipment, and without room for these alternates, so it's.
So we've gone to what you saw 3 or 4 years ago at $32 million down to where we're within that's my message to you, and I'll take any questions you have. And of course, I have a very exhaustive 18-page detail. I only provided you the summary.
And the architect is here too, in case you have any questions for Steve, Sandra, deals.
Nancy has a comment.
I just want to make sure you're aware that bond issuance costs come off that 19,051, and that will be 200,000 to 300,000, I would.
We have that
guess.
included in the
Okay.
detail. Thank you, Bill.
And I will make a quick comment about that. There has been some very brief discussion, and I mean brief, but there may be a way to save on some bond issuance costs as well. And so that's a whole different discussion that needs to occur with bond counsel and the county council as well. So,
And to Mr. Kromkowski's, for his benefit, I'd like to just mention that DLC has been very good at working with us on the budget parameters.
Madam President. There's a building at Mulberry. I wanted somebody to go look at it. They never have. It's owned by Ty Brown. He's a very large farmer. It's called Drago, Indiana. That's where they sell the Drago corn heads, Geringhoff, high expensive stuff. Tom's got one of those heads. They built the building that would do our job 12 years ago for $1.1 million. Now, how did we get from a building that would do that? Inflation hasn't increased 40%. How did we get to where this is so high?
Without seeing the building, I don't know, but I think we're comparing apples to oranges. I can't imagine that. I mean, we've trimmed this down, working with Steve, working with Dan, and we've trimmed this down where we make a usable facility, because remember, we're talking about offices, we're talking about shops, we're talking about storage, we're talking about fuel island, we're talking about another building for exterior vehicle storage, which needs to be a separate building.
Salt dome.
We're talking about site improvements, we're talking about a salt building. So all those things together are this 18 million. That's not just the building. The building shell cost, if you're gonna compare building shell cost to building shell cost, we can break that out. but we're talking about an entire
That's a
project
good
here,
point.
not just the building that's gonna house the stuff. And we're also talking about the equipment that goes in it, the plumbing and the wiring. And again, I don't know what his operation is, and you've mentioned that to me before, and I haven't been up there to see it yet, and I would still like to do that.
What
but
is the shell cost? Do you have any
I
idea?
don't know how we got that broken out or not very clearly.
And this building that I'm referring to will have to be much higher. Clearance is probably
The other thing that,
18 or 20 feet.
yeah, the other thing that we're into is because the occupancy load in all this building has to be sprinkled.
Okay.
So that's a major factor to this.
The one at Mulberry may be sprinkled too, because they have a lot of flammable.
We can break that out for you, Bob. I can break it out for you, figure out what the building shell cost is by itself. with all
Okay.
the stuff.
That would
Why don't
help.
you send that out to us separately between Dan and you and Jack?
The other thing that makes me feel really good about this is that, as you know, I developed the White County project in 2016. That project at the time was 14.5 million, 2016. We've seen 2.5% times that now. It cost 30 million to build that project today. So to get this building down and this whole campus down, that's the whole key. It's the whole campus down to about 19 million. That's a really big feat in my view.
Agreed.
So, I don't know what it's called now, Indianapolis Water or whatever comes out to County Road 400E. Is there any way that we could make a connection there for water?
I agree, Phyllis.
That's a mile plus away.
A mile, yes.
Yeah, and we've got it right now. It's at the, water's at the airport entrance just north of this property.
It's only like 400 feet.
Adjacent to this property.
So the indication to us is from John's conversation that Danville's not being adversarial and has agreed to play ball. We just have to figure out what those parameters are and how they fit in. There's no reason right now to think this is gonna be, they've even talked about helping us speed up the timeline with the annexation. So right now, we don't have any reason to really scream. I just want you to know that the well idea is totally off the table.
I can believe that.
And we still have to work through the sanitary issue, and that right now looks like that's gonna be a mound system on site.
So we did explore sanitary options going to West Central over there at the school at 400.
Yes.
And it was gonna be cost prohibitive to get cross country to them because it's a mile or so away. We met with
Plus
West
getting the
Central.
easement, buying the easements.
So we would have to acquire the easements. And it just didn't
Well,
make sense.
the airport doesn't have sanitary.
No, and Danville has sewer, but it's north of 36, so it would be a lot of expense there. So septic's the way we have to go on that, but like Dan said, there's some unknowns there. If you'd like, we can go ahead and talk about the water and the annexation now under this item.
Fine. It's your meeting.
So like I wrote you the other day, and like Dan said, the town requires annexation in order to get water service. Water is just immediately north of this project site, so I mean, the physical construction cost is minimal. And we're kind of in a window there. The rest of the airport property is in the town of Danville. The property south of us is in the town of Danville. This is kind of a little gap. So it just stands to reason they would annex that eventually. I don't see a downside to being annexed. We would have to go through then their plan review processes once we get annexed. But, so we're in the process of reviewing their development standards now. I sent it to Steve and Sandra yesterday. They're reviewing to see where we may not meet their, places where we may not meet their requirements. Like Dan said, there may need to be some adjustments in cost there, or they may grant us some variances to those standards. We just kind of have to work through that with them. I don't think that's gonna be a huge deal. The timing for the annexation is if we submit a petition next week, the annexation wouldn't be final until mid-December when it's recorded. Typically, they don't review development plans until after an annexation is final. What a concept. Unlike some other towns. But, but they might allow us to go ahead and apply ahead of time to kind of overlap those processes a little bit. So we're trying to hit a late January, early February.
We're trying to bid in January.
Trying to bid this in late January, so it's gonna be tight with the time frame. I don't know the cost implications yet, but there may be some, but I can't imagine they're gonna be significant. And we really just don't have a choice. Well's not available. The town's policy is to require annexation before they extend water service. So, and we've asked about waiving that policy, and that's not something that they wish to do. And so I think they will work with us. Well, prior to your vote a few minutes ago, I think they would work with us on
I don't think that's gonna be an issue.
So if you want to move forward with that, I would recommend, and I didn't have this as an agenda item, but I do have the annexation application here. If you want to move ahead with that, you can sign, I get that submitted to town now.
And timing's pretty critical to us, just roll.
Okay,
I think we need to do that.
so,
Do we need a motion?
yes, I think so.
I would make that motion.
I'll second it.
And the motion is to,
File for annexation.
Yes.
Yes.
File for annexation. Yep. I'll let you go first. There's two places to sign. One is on an agreement not to remonstrate.
Phyllis?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
I had a motion and a second to apply for annexation to the town of Danville to benefit the highway garage. Any further comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I didn't
Thank
want
you.
to,
Thank you,
I didn't
Dan.
jump in.
No, you're fine, I'm done. Thank you very much.
You have anything, Steve? Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Jack, you can continue. I'll sign here.
Okay, so if you remember on the annex building parking lot, we were going to do a project to come to some of those ARPA funds. That sort of got delayed or canceled. So I'd like to continue those same type efforts on the south parking lot here. A lot of the engineering was done, but we've like to put a street cut in and really change that configuration around to get a better layout, to pick up some more extra parking. So I basically have entered in an agreement with Banning to do, a lot of the paperwork was already done or the plans, but then we do have some steps to go through Danville to get approval to do the changes that we're doing to that parking lot. I don't really have a drawing for you at this time, but the concept is to add a entrance to this dead end road to the south or to the east and help open up the circulation a little bit better and gain some more parking spaces. It should be not a huge improvement, but an improvement. Then we'll resurface and we'll put a stormwater effort in there to do water quality from the runoff of the parking lot.
So the new road would go on the east side,
Correct.
okay, where
Yes,
it
so
dead ends
There'll be
now.
another entrance, so when we do that, we pick up more parking and a better circulation pattern to pick up some more parking.
Okay.
So that's the reasoning for that entrance, is to pick up better circulation and more parking.
And the proposal is to approve the contractor arrangement with Banning, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
And that is to include, go through the processes with the town of Danville for approval through the site plan and everything else that's associated.
Move for approval.
Second?
Do you know, did Greg review this?
Yes, Greg did.
I have a motion and a second to approve the contract with Banning for the south parking lot. It's an agreement, I guess. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Can I
And
ask him a question about the funding? So what you were gonna do for our ARPA funding,
Correct.
what you were going to do up there, those money may shift to this,
Correct.
okay.
I've
And
worked
that's
through with the ARPA description of what work we can do out of that fund and encapsulated some other projects so we can move forward with trying to exercise using some of that funding. So I've worked with Paula through that, so.
That will be included with what I wanted to do
with the,
with the all the remaining funds. When rules changed, shocking.
Yeah.
But, so I'll just need those contracts, but I'll get them, so.
Okay, I'll make sure I CC you on that.
Okay.
I provided her a list of what we'd like to do with
Okay.
that funding.
Okay.
So we sort of asked for it up front because we're on a deadline by December, I believe it is, so I'll get with you.
Okay.
All right. So the next on the agenda would be the snow and lawn. And I really appreciate your inputs through this process because it's been a process for me. We've been through it many times, so your comments and concerns are very much appreciated. So instead of having 2 contracts, we just narrowed it down to 1 contract to simplify it. There was concerns about, the challenges of does it snow, how much does it snow, and everything else. So I tried to address that, and I
And
believe
that was very helpful.
yes. When you do the numbers and everything, there is a savings. I'm using like I said, explained the study that was done on the department. Those are the numbers I'm reflecting that was brought up in that study. We are picking up all of the facilities basically. I'm in the process of working with the town of Danville for dedicating the East Campus Boulevard to them so we don't have to maintain and do snow removal on it. So not complete with that yet, but we are picking up 6 locations on this contract, and that is snow, ice, parking lots, sidewalks, and all the above.
There was some discussion I thought about tabling this to the next meeting.
Correct.
But
If need be, because the comments came back and I did my best yesterday, and I know you didn't get it till later,
no, but
so.
my thought is if we're satisfied with it, we don't have to table it.
Well, the last I saw, Greg sent an email last night saying you had done a good job, so I assumed that he had seen the changes and.
Correct. I forwarded the same thing to him as I did to you, and yeah, I did get that reply also.
Okay.
Madam President, so Jack, does this figure 89,000 some odd dollars, that include lawn mowing and?
That is lawn and snow, and that's everything. This contractor is also involved with the hospital, Henry County Hospital, and they do their facilities, so it really ties together with their staff being able to be close. I do have a meeting with Henry County to see or the hospital to see how successful, if they got any complaints or anything. So far, I have not heard of any complaints. We'll have our growing pains a little bit, but all in all, a good contract.
Move for approval.
I'll second.
Okay, so I have 2 contracts here, but you have combined them. So
Correct.
should I sign the 2 or?
This one here, I believe I have the correct page with me,
Okay.
I hope.
If not, you can catch me.
I can hunt you down.
So these are not,
Correct, this was the early 2 separates to where we combined the 2 together. And the numbers did change and the,
okay. All those in favor of the motion to approve the contract for snow removal and lawn care signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I think, like you say, it'll be a trial, and it looks to me like we're gonna be saving
I think if
money
we,
as far as vehicles and
oh, yes.
employees.
My long-term goals, it really helps with the long-term goals of the department. And I think if we approach it correctly and address the issues, the long-term will be what we're after. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lease with Hendricks Regional Hospital for space for the health department.
Morning.
Morning.
Presented this last meeting, and we needed to determine a start date for the lease, and we have that as November 1st. So we worked with Hendricks Regional Hospital, talked about when the work could be completed, and we believe mid-October that should be done, so. Just come with a completed lease agreement.
Okay, I was looking at the map last night.
Yes.
This is on the east side of the hospital and close to 36.
It is, I'm gonna botch the directions, but if you are looking at the hospital, there's the emergency room, and then the next street over, it's on that street, Meadow Drive.
Oh, Meadow Drive.
Yes. Yes, where the COVID testing clinic was,
Okay,
Yeah.
where you could pull through.
okay. Gotcha.
Krista, my question is, under the rent, which is items, or whatever you call it, number 6 on the lease agreement,
Yes.
talks about $1 per month, and then it jumps to 1,074.34 cents per month. Can you explain that?
Sure, yeah, they're
Thank you.
basically taking their rent money and putting it towards that Hendricks Go van program that's ran through the senior services. I
Yeah.
believe the dollar thing, I'm guessing it's like a tax write-off, I don't know exactly, but they reserved $1 for the rent to go to Hendricks Regional Hospital,
And the other is.
and the market value, yes, would go to Hendricks Go to support that program. So they're basically donating their rent money towards Hendricks Go. I don't know all the legalities about the dollar, but I'm sure there's some meaning.
Greg did review this.
Greg did not, he was afraid that there may have been a conflict of interest, so he had the health department attorney review it.
Okay.
And Eric Oliver did review it.
Okay.
Madam President, so is the $1,074.34 a month, is that forever?
3 years.
3 years, okay.
We're hoping we have long-term solutions, kind of in the works by then. It's just to buy us some time.
Sure, move for approval.
I'll second.
Any further questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll just get a copy of that on top here, the signature.
Got the,
Yeah,
Yeah. I can give you a copy after the meeting.
yeah, because I usually put it in here, because Milo likes to have a copy on file too.
Trying to learn mileage.
I'll put you on the spot.
Sorry, I forgot. I didn't realize that you normally made you guys copies, I'm sorry.
I think you did fine.
We're making it free. Thank you.
Thank you. Sheriff?
Morning.
Good morning.
So I have before you a request. It's a purchase agreement, service agreement for TASER. We need 6 additional TASERs for the sheriff's office. As I was reading through the paperwork, there's some verbiage in there that says, are you authorized to sign contracts? Obviously, that's more relevant than mine. First initial, we need to buy the 6 TASERs, so I'm gonna ask that you agree to sign for us to purchase this. It's a leasing agreement that we have for 5 years. We already have 81 TASERs, we just need 6 more. We're to the point, this came up about 3 weeks ago, where we're hiring new individuals and we're running out of TASERs. And I may come to the point where I give up mine, so that one of the new employees has theirs until we get the new ones in. It is just causing a little bit of delay, obviously, under these circumstances. It seems like in a lot of contracts, or a lot of purchase agreements and service agreements that we're seeing, they're putting in language of contracts. With House enacted Bill 1158, House Enrolled Act 1158, there is statutorily the ability for you all to give county officials the ability to sign contracts up to a given amount in a certain year. And so I would just like to start that conversation. I did speak with Greg about bringing this to you, and the thoughts of efficiency, my hope would be that we would come to some type of ordinance agreement to where these service contracts and things that I see on a regular basis, that I'd be able to sign those and keep things moving in lieu of having to bring them to you on a regular basis, so.
We can certainly have discussions at a later time on this, you know, because I emailed Greg when I saw your comments there, and I was concerned because some of us old timers remember a time when a elected official signed a contract and we ended up in court and lots of money, so.
Yes.
So, that would be my hesitation, but, you know, but if there are limits, that's something I could consider.
Yeah, so I talked to Dearborn County Sheriff, he said that they do have an ordinance, language in their ordinance that allows the sheriff up to a certain amount in a given year for contract, not to burden the county with an inordinate contract, but, you know, most things for me, within $50,000, it would cover most of the things that I would sign. $75,000 would cover almost everything. So, just thinking about those things, and that's per contract in a given year. But just wanted to bring that forward as a thought. Since I got on the agenda for this, we've had another service contract for our iRecord system. And again, it's a purchase agreement for 1 year. It's something that we use on a regular basis. It's about $6,100, and it's from year to year. I don't like us to sign any contracts or have their contracts that are multi-year. I like us to review them every year and make sure that it's, you know, they're servicing us the way they should and that everything's appropriate. So again, if that's the case, I'll bring that to you next meeting
Okay,
so that we can get that signed, but
we will discuss it with our attorney.
Are there two questions before us today? Is one of them, you just need 5 more tasers?
it's 6,
Is that
yes.
Six?
6,
It's a
yes.
cost of $11,000.
So can we authorize that and then this research this other contract?
We can sign this contract today, because he needs this today.
Right, okay.
And then we can talk about the authorization
Sure.
of
Sure.
a elected official or
Sure.
up to a certain amount.
And I understand your hesitancy also.
It was not fun.
I just want to provide what the sheriff needs.
So I would entertain at this moment, a motion to approve the request for 6 tasers.
So moved.
It's 27,853.20.
20, okay,
Yeah, is the total.
all right.
Yeah, I think it's close to 7,000 a year.
Yeah.
Yes, 3 years. I'll second.
Any other questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Yeah, I was reading the number off in the front page here. So there's 2 lines for
Yeah,
signature.
just one for your signature and one for mine.
Okay. And then we will have discussions about authorization for 1 or 2 or more elected officials.
Can I ask him a question while he's here?
Sure.
Since he brought up a couple of items, I'll shoot one to him. How's the medical clinic working out and going after so many months now and so on? It's working
Medical has
well?
been amazing. I will tell you that it was a move in the right direction. The 24-hour service that they provide to us has been a huge help. A lot less visits to the ER, not that we still don't have to send inmates over under certain circumstances, but it has helped tremendously. The staff is well integrated with our staff. It's working really well. Overall, it was a good one. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Ashley here? Ashley has requested a road closure up around St. Malachi for a 5K walk run.
I would move for it.
Second. Do we usually get the sheriff involved?
Well, and that's what I don't know. I think we should have communication
Sure.
with law enforcement. I don't know whether it be the town of Brownsburg or the sheriff.
I second the motion, it's fine.
Yeah.
They'll figure it out. Or they won't.
This is at St. Malachy Church or Parish, and I don't, John, is that still in the county? It's not in the town of Brownsburg, so, okay. Okay. So
All of it, because
So it is us, yeah.
750 and 1,000.
Yeah, I don't know the road network they're closing, but the church itself is in the county now. I don't know where all the road.
Everything is kind of closed up there anyway right now.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. Shouldn't need to be much law enforcement.
Yeah.
Doing our best.
But We could approve this and Todd could send a note back to them saying, please coordinate with the sheriff's department.
Yes. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Is there anything else that didn't get on the printed agenda, advertised agenda? Hearing none. We'll move on then from comments from the floor.
Hi.
Hi.
Jim Thompson, 7722 Coil Creek Trace in Pittsburgh. Even though you don't have a dimmer on the lights, it doesn't seem as bright in here without Mila's smile sitting over there.
We miss her.
Yes, I did want to note that the audio from the last two meetings I dialed into, I had a dentist appointment last meeting, so I couldn't make it, and the other one I was out in town. It's been pretty low, but we can hear Phyllis pretty well, but that's about it. So I would encourage anybody who comes up to speak to get as close to the table as they can. I know some people like to stand off to the side, and unfortunately, even trying to listen to John when he was talking all the time was way down in the mud, so. I didn't know, apparently there's a policy as far as beacon goes, maybe police officers or judges, public officials can have requests that when you click on a property on the aerial view, it says no data found. And I didn't know if there's a policy to remove that. I know we have a former police officer in Pittsburgh who quit after being suspended for 6 months, and his property still shows no data found, even though he's back as a private citizen now. So I didn't know if that was something that you had a formal policy on.
I think.
There's a procedure for removing the
There
data.
is, yes.
I don't know that there's a set procedure for reinstating.
Okay. Just one of those things, like I was pointing out to John, there's a traffic sign that can come down because the road is now a T intersection versus where 575 used to go into 500 north, you could only go right if you were north. Now you can go into Auburn Hills, so that sign can come down. And like there's another one on 500 west or 50 west, it says deaf child near, it's probably been there 10 years, so is the child still there, is still a child, person moved, so just something to keep in mind. And also last, I don't know if you know that Pat Carmine and Doug Morris from or Doug Burris rather, from the 911 center just recently quit. So I don't know if you guys do letters of appreciation, because even though they're working technically for Plainfield, it's a county funded operation. And I've heard from a couple fire chiefs and town marshal how they really are gonna miss Pat's input and technical expertise. And I knew Doug from way back in Mecca days. I know that they did a lot for us.
So it was Doug and who?
Pat Carmine, he was the technician, and also I think he was considered the ops manager or the tech manager or whatever. They did some changes in titles or whatever 6-8 months ago when Renee came in, so. I appreciate what they did for us, so.
Madam President, will you direct a letter of appreciation? Will you direct a letter of appreciation?
Sure.
Direct someone to write the letter. I'm not saying
So,
you.
okay, that was what I was trying
Oh, I'm
to
not
get
saying
clear.
you. Yeah, right.
I hadn't fallen asleep. I think we can probably handle that. Were they with the organization from the beginning, which has been a long time?
I think Pat's been there a long time, and same with Doug came in, he was an assistant when Steve was there, and then he became the executive director, and then he stepped back down, so.
Thank you. Anything else from the floor?
I just wanted you guys all to know that Nikki Lawson was voted Assessor of the Year, so.
Congratulations. Good to know.
It's quite an honor.
I would think so.
Nope.
That's not why I do it. Any other comments from the floor? Yes, sir. If you would come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Thank you for this opportunity. This is my first.
And from what he said, if you could speak up,
Okay, yeah, thank you for
talk
this.
louder.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity. This is my first time to be here. This is my first experience. Anyway, my name is Futsu Maskadon, and my address is, okay, it's here, 879 West County Road, 900 North Liston, Indiana. And
Liston?
Liston, yeah, Liston, Indiana, yeah. I have, my idea to explain more. I have one. Is here, Mr. Kirane. I just need to make gravel my area and my driveway, and he can explain to me. He can assist me, And I have. I cannot explain because I have. Shorter of.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So
Mr. Kirane.
he is going to explain.
Yes, what I want.
Why you're here.
Yes.
It has to do with a gravel driveway.
Yes. Yes.
Hello.
Hi,
Ladies and
would you
gentlemen.
state your name and address for the record?
My name is Capel. Asfaha, I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. He's my cousin, so I'm here to help him. We're here for the address is 879 North 900 in Liston County, Liston City, sorry, and Hendricks County. So basically, there is an existing driveway that's grandfathered in, which is it's not long enough to drive through, and it's muddy. When it rains, it accumulates a lot of water in the pond. So this is a business district. It's not residential. On the other side, on the east side of 39, it said it's 33,000 33 ton. On this side, there is no sign at all. So which is 66,000 pounds. And what we're trying to do is basically put a driveway and put a gravel on the lot, because this lot, you cannot farm it, you cannot do nothing with it, it's too small. So to park our tractor trailers, personal, not business, and being a resident in the same location, parking behind your house, we're just asking for permit for the driveway gravel. And we're willing to follow the procedure of the county and the ordinance. But the only problem is they deny us, and we are not the only one. 88% of that county, they have a gravel driveway and parking. And I was wondering why we've been denied and what's the reason.
And there is
And plus the
dead end and
there's a dead end, and we are 100 feet away from 39, which is a freeway. It's not like we passing through residents disturbing anybody. And basically, there's a recycle commercial, government recycle center, and there's a county highway street department on the other side. So basically, what we're trying to do is park our personal trucks and trailers there instead, and we live there. So what's...
Okay, I'm gonna ask our engineer if he can help out and maybe our plan director, because I'm not familiar with the property that you're talking about or how much land that you have. And I think,
Tim and I both have met with these gentlemen last week or earlier this week. It was last week, I guess. So this is on 901, which is the dead-end road going back west from 39, just north of 74, where the recycling center is. Turn left to go back on that. So that gives you an idea of where it is.
okay,
So Tim can better address, I think, the approvals that they need to do what they want to do, but it's for semi-parking.
A personal semi-parking, not commercial.
Well, semis are commercial, so it's for commercial use basically, and he's right, it is zoned highway business.
Yeah.
So I don't wanna step on Tim, I'll let him talk.
so they would need to go through the application process with your department?
Yes. It's complicated because it's a highway business owned property, which is probably the right zoning district because it's right off the highway. Like I said, it's 100 feet from 39, but it's still a residential area. It's never been developed. So it talks through the process of what it would require to develop it commercially, and they disagree that it's a commercial use, even though it's in a commercial district. So that's where we stand.
Based on our conversations, it's for semis, but it's for 4 or 5 semis. So, I mean, it's a commercial use, and so because it's a change in what's being used for currently, that triggers a development plan review. Right, Tim? So they want to build a gravel parking lot entrance so that they can park semis there, basically. And so that's, because it's a change in use and it's not, and he's right, state highway is right across the road, right across 39 there. But this particular property is surrounded by residential, so that's why they need to go through the DPR. And we would see what kind of requirements we need to see there. Typically, we don't allow all gravel lots for that. So we just need to see it. They came to my office to apply for a driveway permit, and that's where we had our discussion about that. But the driveway permit's tied to what else they want to do on the property.
So we appreciate you being here, but you understand that you need to go through the planning department for an application, and there will probably be a public hearing. So it'll take a while. It's government.
Yes, ma'am, but we are the only ones gonna be without no gravel. Our left, right, front, back, everybody got the gravel type.
Okay.
So we were wondering what makes us so different.
Well, we can't make that decision today, and, we just encourage you to go through the process to attempt to get what you want and accept the decision that's made at a different level. Okay?
What happens is the thing is so deep when it rains. The neighbors, they complain the water that accumulate in that spot, especially we trying to fill up. The water goes to their basement. They got a basement. And they said too much mosquitoes and this. They said this lot. The previous owner didn't do nothing good.
If I might, once this goes for an application for a hearing at the plan commission, right, Tim?
Like I said, this is a complicated situation because it's a residential parcel right now. It's a home, and they intend to continue to use it as a home. It's surrounded by homes, but it's in a business district. Our ordinance also doesn't allow truck parking as a use. It doesn't allow just an open truck parking lot. It has to be associated with a business. We've talked about this before. We've had a lot of people come to my department asking where they can do this. I told them they can't. So it's not just so simple as putting gravel.
Well, I know the location well. You would face opposition from their neighbors of parking trucks there. If it went through, and I understand what you're saying. You're saying if they paved it, it would just move water off to the neighbors. I think that's what.
Well, at least what we can do is kind of level the ground, make the water
Stay on your property?
No, go towards the ditch to the back towards the highway. That way, there won't be a lot of problems with the neighbors, and especially the neighbor, she said, whenever it rains, all the water comes here and then goes to my basement.
Well, I'm not necessarily opposed, but what you're describing, you're gonna say water's gonna go toward NDOT, toward the 74, and they'll wanna be heard. Department of Transportation, State of Indiana, they'll wanna be heard on this issue. It's not as simple as us just saying we can do that. Nobody's opposed to you, but we've gotta figure out there are steps we gotta take if we're ever gonna approve it. And the steps start with building and planning, and then I'll have the drainage board and different.
Also, he said there's no allow semi-trucks and commercial vehicles parking.
Yeah, we'll have to. make
On
some kind of
contrary,
change.
on the east road, on 900, there is people, they park their commercial and trucks, which is, it's not even a block.
And I told you,
that's,
they're
and they
used
have
to
the same
bring it to me
gravel,
and we can enforce it.
Yes,
the
and-
same gravel parking, everything.
That's your process. You need to go to the planning and building department and get your application filed, and
We
then.
did, they denied it, so that's
That
why
was the
we're
driveway
here.
permit. Yeah, that was the driveway permit only. I didn't deny it. I said we will hold it until the uses get resolved out in planning. They have not been through the planning application process.
Okay.
I understand that, and that's what I'm trying to emphasize, is they need to do that and start the process and go through the steps.
So the request from them to the planning department would be to change the zoning from residential? No,
Zoning is highway business already.
highway
The ordinance
business
does not
already.
allow open truck parking, that's
Okay.
primary use.
So how,
We
I
have to
mean-
have an amendment.
I don't know how that would be resolved at all.
Yeah, we would have to amend the ordinance to allow it as a separate use.
So they need to request an amendment to the ordinance. So does that start with your department?
It does,
Okay.
yes.
So the zoning is already commercial.
Yes, but
Use is residential.
There's still restrictions within that zoning classification, what you can do in that zoning classification.
sounds like you need to, and I hate to say this, sounds like you need to go back and talk to Tim further, and he will explain what you need to do then to get this done.
Okay,
We've talked about this before, and I don't think you're opposed to allowing that use in the ordinance, right? Somewhere in the county. Correct? And that's what I wanted to, that's why I suggested maybe we have a discussion here today,
I see.
to have that direction. Is that a use that we're okay with or not? I mean, obviously, we need to have hearings before we make any decisions.
right.
But whether we go through that process or not, it's kind of up to you. But then, we also, we got derailed and the conversation ended when I made the decision that the truck parking is a commercial use, and they disagreed and left it. We're here.
And when the agreement is made on the use, whether it's gonna be allowed or not, if it is, then there still are gonna be some requirements on the physical improvements they're gonna have to make.
Yes.
Parking lot, drainage is gonna be an issue, things like that, so it's really kind of two steps.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Any other comments from the floor? Hearing none, we'll move on then to elected officials. I see Laura's back there.
Real quickly, I want to mention that the subtle changes being made are noticed and appreciated. The benches, the picnic tables, the exterior window washing, thank you, it's noticed and appreciated.
I noticed it too.
Yeah.
It's appreciated, and thank you for bringing it up. Dawn, do you have something?
I do.
Well, I got something up here, but I have to confess, I haven't had a chance to read it.
Well, and that's okay. If you would please just take a minute to read it It does have to do with, the clocking in and out. It's kind of a big issue.
I thought we said you needed to submit your
I did,
comments to.
I did,
Okay.
but I also want to bring up the fact that the next meeting that you're gonna vote on this, the majority of us will be headed to AIC. And so we are not going to be able to attend.
So you're giving
And
us
so all of us elected officials or department heads that have issues with this are not even gonna be here.
We planned that perfectly.
You did. Yes, you did. Every office is different, and I guess that's all I ask, is please seriously take this into some big consideration. Because every office is different. In the top floor, the elevators don't move fast. Some of us can't use the stairs. If everybody is waiting in line to clock in at 8 o'clock, nobody's gonna make it to the office for their doors to open, especially on the top floor.
Okay, we appreciate your time and we will take this into consideration.
Thank you, that's all I ask, thank you.
Any other comments from the floor? We've already received your comments, Nikki.
Yeah, and I just am gonna piggyback, I would like to just, for the record, because we're not gonna be here next week, I know I have emailed you all, but for the record, I want it to be stated that I too disagree with the clocking in and out at the doors. I understand, I think, part of that reasoning, but the effect is not going to be what you want. You cannot have people clocking in downstairs and then it takes them 10 minutes to either climb the stairs, wait in line for the elevator, to get to their office, to turn on their computer. They will not be ready to work at 8 o'clock. Since I have been the elected assessor, my policies in my office are very, basically my policy is my employees are not allowed to clock in at the door. I want them at their desk they're ready to go with their computers on at 8, not coming in. So I just wanted to provide you a copy of my policy so you can see.
So you have a separate policy in addition to the employee policy manual that we provide each employee and they sign off on it.
That is correct. They sign off on it every year. So my maybe compromise or suggestion to think about in this situation would be to provide those clock-ins upstairs. There are none upstairs. Put one outside of offices. Put one outside of the elevator so that people can clock in once they're upstairs. I have many employees who have to use the elevator. They can't use the stairs. There is not a clock in at the door in this back corner, and a lot of employees use that entrance to come straight to the elevator to go upstairs to the second floor. So it's not convenient for them to be able to clock in. They would have to go to a completely different end of the building.
That's something to think about, Nikki. We would have to investigate the cost of doing that, but it is certainly something to think about. So in order to give us time to think about that and to investigate it, maybe we just delay making a vote on this decision to,
There's no urgency to it.
yeah, November? Let's see.
Sure.
We'll have meetings in October, 24th, and then maybe our first meeting in October. Let's make it change.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
I did not know there was not a clock back there, because we
No.
ordered the clock back there.
There's not one.
We not put one back there at the time when we put all these. The wall back there is all block,
Oh.
and it would have required an external raceway at the time. Kevin chose not to do that because.
We had talked about putting one back there, because a lot of people use those doors, that door. So we did put
But
that out
it doesn't, that would be great, but I'm talking about the people who have to make it to the second
The
floor
top floor is
by
the
8
issue.
o'clock, and it really is difficult. If you're ever here at that hour of the day and you see everyone flooding in, there are people waiting in line to use their tags, and there are also people waiting in line for the elevator.
And I do know the clock-ins work better with your ID card, not your fingerprint. So if people could use that, that would make it go a lot faster.
Okay, well, are there any other comments from the floor?
If I
Oh,
could,
this is from elected officials, I'm sorry.
I wanted to just chime in on the clock-in thing. I think what, my issue is, why is it preferred a fingerprint? Why can't we clock in on our PCs? That's my question. Why is it an issue?
What
My
is it?
understanding, and I think where the concern comes from, is Right Stuff, it only has the ability to differentiate clock-ins two ways. If you look on, like your timesheets, it shows a time clock or it shows web clock. And the web clocks are all done by IP address. And so if someone clocks in from their cell phone somewhere else or from another mobile device, it shows up as a web clock, just like someone clocking in from their desktop here. There's a way to tell the difference, but only Right Stuff can do that. And so they go in and look and try to determine by using IP address, and Doug may be able to elaborate, because our IP address has changed, I think, which makes it even more difficult for security purposes. So one possible solution would be if there's a way for Right Stuff to, and I don't know if there is or not, if there's a way for them to determine when someone is using a mobile device not in this building. And I think the council had gotten some complaints that was happening, that people are clocking in using mobile devices from their homes, from their, if there was an easy way to determine if they're clocking in from a desktop, I don't think there would be any problem with it at all, because they're in the building. It's because there's no way to tell whether they're in the building or whether they're at home or in their car or wherever they
That would
might
have been
be.
real helpful to know.
Yeah.
The cause of it, because I agree with Nikki. I mean, you want to be at your desk, settled in, coffee in hand, clocked in, ready to answer the phone at 8 a.m., not clocking in downstairs. So, and we don't have any problems in my office, honestly. So,
It's a problem in the way the software records the two. If you look, and I actually looked yesterday just to see how often the web clocks are used, because I thought, is this really a problem or not? And about 50% of employees are clocking in some form of web clock. Now I'm hoping that most of the time that's from the computers that are in their offices. That would make sense. Some of the times, because we actually had Right Stuff look, that's not happening. They are from cell phones and mobile devices, and they're people that aren't in this building that are clocking in. And I think that's where the most secure system would be, even though it may not be the most efficient or the most convenient, would be having some way of having people clock in from the building. There's cameras at the door. I think the computers would be just as safe if there was a way of determining that it was actually in this building. But
would you have to have special permissions to clock in from your phone? I can't do that.
I can't do that.
You probably can. If you go in, if you have Right Stuff, yeah.
Oh, I don't.
There's
no need to.
There's no special permissions that if you have the program, or if you pull up the website on your phone, you can log in and clock in from anywhere. And sometimes you don't have a choice. clocking in and clocking out for lunch for field teams was an exception to the policy. That's how they'll do it. They could use a tablet, they could use their phone. Sometimes, you know, I've walked out the door and I forgot to clock out, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh. So I can do it from the, I don't really want to come back in the building and use my card to get back in and have to, so I'll just clock out from, that happens from time to time.
Sure.
I think they were concerned about people that were, or employees that were doing it, it's every day. That's their preferred method. And I'll talk to Ride Stuff to see if there is some way to make that clear. I think specifically what the council was concerned about were those mobile contacts outside of the building. I don't think they really, it makes a difference to them if they're using a computer in the building. There's just no way to know the difference right now. It's a fault in the system. They may be able to fix it. I don't know.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I have a question. So we do have people in the field department, and sometimes it's more beneficial for them to leave their home and go straight to the taxpayer's house to do whatever they need to do. But with this, they'd have to drive all the way into work, clock in and drive. That is so unproductive. I mean, that's a waste of our money, it's a waste of payroll.
That was actually discussed, and it's certainly more efficient for the employee because they're leaving home and they don't have the time or the expense of actually driving to and from work. Is it that much more efficient for the county? I can't really say because you're making the assumption that the person's home is close to wherever they're going.
What I'm saying is specifically, like, we have people that, you know, are in the field, they go out and they assess the new construction. We've got somebody that lives in Brownsburg, we've got somebody that lives in Avon, we've got somebody that lives in Clayton. And so if they're starting out the day and they're hitting all these houses in Brownsburg, and we're saying, no, you've gotta drive all the way in to Danville to clock in, to drive all the way back to Brownsburg, your work should be what shows whether or not you're there. I mean, to me, it's unproductive because that's the amount of time they have to drive all the way here and drive all the way back. That's 10 houses they're not gonna pick up that day.
Well, we've taken all the comments into consideration, and we're going to do some checking on maybe some new time clocks. And you still have the opportunity to send your comments to Todd. And we won't vote on this at our next meeting because some of you will not be here, so.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. Any other, Nancy, did you have anything? Okay. The sheriff left, so now we'll move on to staff reports.
The first three items on my memo we've already covered. Appian did submit a September report. It's attached to what I sent you, I think. Commissioner Dawes and I, along with Lori from Appian and Jake German, met with NDOT Central Office last week to talk about their participation in roundabout construction on 39 and 70. They didn't write us a check or anything, but they seemed interested in it. There was some things brought forward, and that would be that if there is federal money involved through them, we would have to go through the federal aid process, which increases our design costs and lengthens the project. So, and they're talking about program year of maybe like 29 to do the construction. So that's putting it way out there. So maybe something we want to consider depending on the level of participation they're willing to contribute, if it's worth it or not, quite frankly. But our homework, I think, Denny, was to find out, kind of get what the appetite of the developers was, how much they were willing to throw in, right? Yeah. That's what they asked us to do, so.
Regarding the roundabout.
Regarding the roundabout constructions, yeah. Who all's gonna participate, how much they're willing to throw in.
There were 3 of the 4 roundabouts.
Yeah, right. But it was a good meeting. I mean, it was, I thought it was productive. Updates on Bridge 88 on 200 North is closed, under construction. Bridge 237 on Stafford Road is closed, under construction. We had a pre-con for Bridge 290 on August 27th. And discussing there about some closures they want. We also had a meeting on the railroad yard yesterday, looking at that bridge and some utilities that the railroad owns that they failed to divulge to us in 7 years of plan review we paid them for, and all of a sudden at the pre-con, it came up, they have water mains and fiber lines. So we're working that out. Hopefully it's not gonna be a obstacle, but I love the railroad. Utility, last meeting I said I might bring you a notice to bidders for the signal at 267 and County Line. We're gonna wait till we get the utility relocations done first. So when those are done, then I'll bring you a notice to bidders for that. Bridge beams are due to be set on the Ronald Reagan Parkway Bridge next week. So that, and then they're gonna close that down for the winter. Not yet, they're not gonna do the bridge deck yet. They're gonna continue to do dirt work to probably late December and some other work on the project. But we're discussing temporary reopening of 700 North to get through the winter and then reclosing it in the spring. I think that's a good move. There'll be some grumbling when we reclose in the spring, but it'd be nice to have it open for 3 months, 4 months. So we're still working through that. The last item I wanted to bring up is not on my memo. The sheriff called me yesterday and he's been in discussions with the Putnam County Sheriff. Putnam County would like to close down the east leg of the 240 connection down, if you're familiar with where this is, in the far southwest corner of the county. There's a fatality there about every 3 months.
The fertilizer plant.
Yes, right. So 75 comes straight south and hits 40. 240, what used to be 240 extends straight east and curves around and joins 40. That intersection's really bad because the angle's really bad.
The intersection at 75 and
No,
240
the
or the
intersection, 240 and 40. And that's actually a county road. They turned that over to us, and that's actually Putnam County's road where it intersects 40. That's in the yellow, the east end of that is in Putnam County. The middle part is ours because it's
So
on the
they
county
would,
line.
they're asking to shut down the east where it ties into 40.
Yes. And
completely shut it down.
yes. So all the traffic, like from the co-op and everything, would go
Would be
back to
on
75 and down.
Yeah.
And I'm supportive of that, the sheriff's supportive of that. That's a terrible intersection because the angle's awful, visibility
They
is
just,
awful.
what, a month ago had a
Yes,
fatality there?
yeah. So it's Putnam County's move because that section of the road is theirs. We would continue to maintain our stretch to get traffic in and out of the co-op. 2 property owners on the north side are,
So this is Putnam County?
yes, that's actually the county line. That's actually the South County line.
Okay, okay.
The 2 property owners on the north side of the road there are Tim Wicker and then a guy that works for him, I think, and they're both supportive of this. Tim doesn't have a driveway that comes out onto this road anyway. But also interestingly, NDOT is I asked them and they're supportive of this as well. But they're putting in for funding to shift that State Road 75 intersection east. So it's gonna be about halfway between where the 240 intersection is now and where the 75 intersection is now. They're talking about shifting that east, so it's a 90-degree intersection.
East of 75 and
Right.
240.
Splitting the difference between 75 and
And
240
move it
basically.
east.
So that's a
How will
project they're applying for in about 2030.
How will that help?
It'll be a right angle intersection, because right now 75 is not a right angle intersection either. 75 and 40 are at an angle.
It will move an angle, yeah, they are.
And it would eliminate the bridge on 75 now across that creek. So that's a good move. But anyway, they don't really need anything from us because that end of the road is theirs, but we're supportive of that.
So the
I'm
ag-
supportive of that.
The ag traffic then is gonna have to take 40 all the way down to
Yeah.
75 and come around instead of turning right,
Correct.
making right off of.
But it's not that much further,
It is
really.
a dangerous intersection.
And we talked also about the possibility of making that a right in, right out, but I think it'd be cleaner just to close it. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I
Again,
think
it's
so.
Putnam County's move. They're just kind of telling us, asking if we would be supportive or not.
John,
My
this
opinion is we should be.
is Hendricks County or is that Putnam?
That's Putnam.
So.
You got the drawing
Oh,
upside
okay.
down.
He
Yeah, you
said
got the
this
drawing.
is the county
Oh,
line.
I've got it upside down,
Yes. The pink part is
This
the
is
county
north.
line. That's correct.
south.
Yep.
East,
Yep.
west.
So 240 there is on the county line, but where it dips south a little bit to hit 40, that's actually Putnam.
Okay. All right.
That's Keystone Co-op, isn't it?
Yeah.
The ag guys they'll work it out.
Yeah, I think so.
They'll work it out.
And there's several trucking companies that come out that road out of Greencastle, and almost all of those turn south on 75 now. They don't most of them avoid that intersection already.
So I think you have consensus from the commissioners to notify Putnam County we're okay with it, or go through the sheriff or whatever.
I think it's a good move. That's a terrible. I go through that intersection twice a day on 40. That makes me a little nervous every time.
As do some others.
Yes.
Anything else?
No, I don't have anything else unless you have something for me.
Todd?
A couple of my items have already been on the agenda. The rest are for your information only, unless you have any questions about it.
No? Doug?
Mine are just updates. Previous item 1, we've already chatted about, we'll take care of that. And then 2 is the coroner update. They moved in, set up their computers, everything seems to be working fine over there.
So they are moved in?
Okay, so I mean, I don't know how much, we're moving their copier today, matter of fact, they're probably doing that right now. But yeah, I know they opened the office yesterday morning for business.
Oh, really?
Very good.
Well, let me rephrase that. They're in there. I don't think they're doing everything there yet.
Yeah.
IT wise, they're good.
Oh, okay.
They have customers.
I think I was next on the list, I hope.
You are, you were.
So yes, the coroner's office, the admin has moved in. We've got a temporary C of O from Danville. We're just occupying the office space right now. We're working through our other challenges to get everything else complete. But we are working out of that facility.
Anybody that's gonna volunteer to do an autopsy in there?
That's a weird place to me. I don't like coming out. I haven't got those guys figured out yet, but I ask a lot of questions, so it's unique. As you can see, I did some tree removal on the north side of the building. We're gonna put in a drain system to try to correct some water infiltration into the building, hopefully. And I'm gonna replace it with a nice landscape plan. I don't know if I've sent that to you yet, but I will.
I sent it to you, Phyllis.
Oh.
It was an attachment, but.
Oh, I didn't see the attachment, I'm sorry.
It's just an illustration. It'll be
I saw your
more,
note.
it'd be more river rock and more, but the trees against the building weren't a good idea. And then the drainage.
There's some plants too, so there's.
Yes, there's some.
There's tiered plants.
And then some of that little yellow flowers. I
Well, it's the landscape.
Yeah.
So in the future, we'll be replacing the one tree in each island after we remove those dead ones. So we're trying to do the best we can on that. That's all I have. You got any other questions? Thank
Trees are
you.
important to Phyllis.
Well, so will the flowers be, hopefully. And we're putting trees back. I don't know
You
what.
don't have to worry about Phyllis much longer.
Well, we always want to worry about you.
Yeah. We'll name a tree after.
There you go.
We do that sometimes when somebody dies.
We'll call it the memorial tree, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioners' comments.
Nothing.
The only thing that I have, I mentioned the passing of Stan Ryland earlier, but on my wall calendar at home, it says tomorrow is Patriot Day. And I think if we all remember 23 years ago where we were, what happened, and how awful it was, I think as time goes by, we forget. But there were a lot of people that did not make it after that day. And out of that grew a sense of patriotism, and churches were filled with people. And, you know, we can't forget that day. We can't forget what it felt like. So I would just hope that you remember tomorrow where you were when you found out, and some families were affected forever, so. Other than that, I have nothing. just like to mention that we miss Mila and we wish her well. She's hopefully coming back and soon. But in the meantime, Todd has done an outstanding job of trying to learn her job. So with that, the meeting is adjourned.
I